fans, and it didn't look like it might be the case going back a couple of months when Manchester City were trailing both Liverpool and Arsenal in the title race, but they just find a way, don't they? They find a way of picking up results, hunting teams down and getting themselves into this situation where here we are, last day of the season, it's in their hands. They have the opportunity to lift another Premier League title in front of their own fans. I'm sure it's one they won't want to waste.
And beautiful warm sunshine. I'm told it's 22 degrees on the side of the pitch in the shadows, and the Manchester City players lining up with a whole bunch, almost a battalion of mascots who will cherish that photograph. And there's another team and a half of them on the pitch as well that Kevin De Bruyne is just going across to see if everyone's okay. The Manchester City team today then for match number 38 of the Premier League season for them. Ortega in goal, but Ederson is here. He's in a black t-shirt with his own picture on the front, but he's got sunglasses on. Can't be involved in these final two matches because he fractured his eye socket on Tuesday night. So Ortega's in goal again, his 15th start of the season. Back four of Kyle Walker. It's his 300th appearance for Manchester City today. The captain might be lifting the trophy later to mark the occasion. Then Diaz and Akanji with Gvardiol at left back. Then Rodri with De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku and Erling Haaland. So Kovacic is on the bench today, and Kevin De Bruyne, who was a doubt, is fit and plays. And already there's been a goal at Burnley, Sani Radravajala.
And it's Nottingham Forest have taken the lead. Ex-Burnley man Chris Wood tapping in from point blank range. Great cross from Anthony Elanga. 1 minute gone, Burnley 0, Nottingham Forest 1.
So it looks as though Nottingham Forest will be rubber stamping their survival in the Premier League today. And the West Ham team for this one, Areola in goal, three central defenders, Mavropanos, the former Arsenal man, the captain Zuma and Cresswell, Soufal and Emerson in the wing-back positions, Souček and Ward-Prowse, Kudus and Paquetá, and then Mikel Antonio up front. So Manchester City 0, West Ham 0. Match about to begin here, but it seems that several of the matches are underway already, and it's to Luton now and Chris Coles.
50 seconds in, John. Luton 0, Fulham 0. Clearly that Nottingham Forest goal not great for Luton, albeit I'm not sure how realistic their survival chances are. Now 13 goals needed to bridge, but the atmosphere here is good in the bright sunshine. Luton 0, Fulham 0.
And straight to Brentford, Alistair Bruce Ball.
First goal in 12 games for Ivan Toney. May not be the last one. Plenty of time left in this game. Brentford lead early on. Brian and Mbeumo got away down the right, in behind the Newcastle defence, and Ivan Toney couldn't miss after Mbeumo played it into him. Brentford 1, Newcastle 0.
Obviously Newcastle, one of the teams vying for the minor European places. But Manchester City, West Ham is underway here in the sunshine. And remember, if Manchester City win, they retain the title and will become the first club to win this league 4 years in a row. This league that started, don't forget, back in 1888. And no team, no club has managed to win it 4 years in a row. City, sky blue shirts, white shorts, blue socks, have got the ball on the halfway line, and the T20 has finished at Headingley. Atif Noaz.
It has indeed. England have wrapped up a comfortable win by 34 runs. They've taken the series by a whitewash, 3-0 heading into the one-day international series, which starts on Thursday. A very, very strong performance from England against Pakistan.
So once they wrap everything up at Headingley, it'll be the Chelsea match that is on Sports Extra, one of our choices of listening this afternoon. So Chelsea Bournemouth on Sports Extra shortly. Bernardo Silva on the right hand side, ball to Foden on the edge of the box, left foot shot, brilliant finish yet again from the man named this week as the Premier League player of the season, like a rocket off his left foot into the top corner above Areola, and that's the settler that Manchester City wanted in the second minute. To win the title, and a goal almost right at the start from Phil Foden, number 26 of the season for him.
Oh wow, I mean, this young man just keeps doing such wonderful things. He seems to get better and better every time you see him. I mean, this is a huge game for Manchester City. It's only the second time he's picked the ball up in the game. The first time he got turned, tried to run at somebody, decided to lay it off, picked up a better space, and just waited for the move to develop. And from this central position, he can just be so effective. The ball comes out to the right-hand side. Bernardo Silva given real space. He just passes it inside. Phil Foden just lets it run across his body, opens it up, allows it to run into probably the D on the edge of the West Ham penalty area, and just unleashes a strike with that left foot. It's still rising as it hits the net. Areola has absolutely no chance, and what a goal, what a young player. No surprise the award he's already received this season.
Yeah, the Football Writers Player of the Year, the Premier League Player of the Season. BBC World Service listeners are with us. I hope you arrived in time for Phil Foden's goal, and I think we can all guess how that's gone down at Arsenal with you, Ian.
Well, Arsenal almost got themselves a goal there with Tommy Yasser's header at the far post, but yes, news of that goal here at the Emirates is filtering through, and up until that point it'd been an absolutely cracking atmosphere, but Arsenal have made a very strong start. But it's Arsenal 0, Everton 0, 5 minutes played.
We thought Ivan Toney had scored for Brentford. Alistair, Bruce Ball?
You can chalk that one off. Brentford 0, Newcastle 0. VAR had a look. Matthias Jensen offside, so Ivan Toney's goal ruled out. Brentford 0, Newcastle 0.
Here at the Etihad. This is 5 Live and the World Service from the BBC. Listen as well if you're on the move on this glorious afternoon via BBC Sounds. And Manchester City's home stadium is ringing to the sound of home celebrations. Bernardo Silva setting up Phil Foden. I feel, Leon Osman, like I've seen that goal already this season several times, don't you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's one that we're coming accustomed to.
Now Rodri and Haaland on the edge of the penalty area, but it breaks down and runs through to Areola.
Yeah, it's one we're accustomed to seeing him score in a very usual position for him on the right hand side, able to cut in and hit it to the far post with his left foot. Yeah, we've seen it before, but I mean, he still blows you away with the quality that he can hit the strike with, the position he can find himself in. And Kevin De Bruyne has been the orchestrator of this Manchester City team for a few seasons now, but even watching it here today, you just get the feeling, certainly over the course of this season, that may have changed hands to Phil Foden. The influence he has on this Manchester City team at the moment is absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, that's now 8 goals in his last 9 appearances. That's a great way to finish the season when there's a tournament coming up. The England squad will be named Tuesday afternoon, by the way. We'll have lots of coverage for you. It's 2 o'clock it'll be named, so you'll hear it on 5 Live, the England squad for the Euros, and lots of reaction throughout the course of the day and in 5 Live Sport on Tuesday night. Bernardo Silva, who set the opening goal up from round about here, right side of the penalty area. It's De Bruyne now. Here's Foden again, central position. Then Gvardiol's getting involved as well. Touch from De Bruyne. The confidence here. That early goal, as if they needed it, Leon, has just spread further confidence throughout the players who are out there in sky blue for the Premier League leaders.
Well, they're a confident team when they're behind. They're a confident team whenever they step out the pitch, but you give them a lead in a game like this, you can just see it oozing through them. Flicks round the corner, finding in space. West Ham are struggling to get close.
Chasing shadows, West Ham. They're starting 9th, they'll finish in 9th. Here's Doku on the left hand side into the penalty area. Doku now goes for the byline, slips it across, and it's cleared away by Zuma on the edge of the 6-yard box. The West Ham captain putting it out of play on the far side. So Manchester City already with the early goal. The only other goal is the one that was scored at Burnley by Nottingham Forest, which will, if they win that match, will confirm their place in the Premier League for next season. But I think we know that anyway. It's just a case of crossing the T's and dotting the I's for them. All of the other matches currently goalless. And in the Premiership in Scotland, into the second half there, Motherwell 0, St Johnstone 2, and Ross County 1, Aberdeen 1, which means that St Johnstone would avoid relegation. Emerson, it's West Ham. I think this is the first time we're over the halfway line, Leon. But however, quickly De Bruyne gets it back. Then he nutmegs Ward-Prowse, comes back to De Bruyne in the centre circle. De Bruyne running free. You'd never know he was a doubt for this match. Forward towards Doku. Doku is just outside the penalty area. Ball to the left-hand side. Gvardiol is there. That comes back in field to the corner of the penalty area, and he tries a shot. De Bruyne from the angle, which is beaten away by Areola, who I think had a good sight of that. But this is the traditional strong start from Manchester City. They've got 1 goal. They're already after a second. And if they were able to get it, it would be hard to see West Ham coming back from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, West Ham are a team that are better on the counter-attack. They're better when they've got a lead to hang on to. and teams are coming on to the Manchester City are just in full control of this game at the moment. We've just seen Kevin De Bruyne have a strike from distance. Yeah, why wouldn't you? West Ham want to defend as deep as they have done. Might as well get shot away.
City all over West Ham. Foden now into the penalty area, turns, gives it back towards Walker, who slips actually as the challenge comes in on him. City though still in possession. Rodri recycled it to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva into the penalty area, then to Walker on the right hand side as Manchester City attack towards the end to our right. That's where the West Ham fans are. Comes across to Gvardiol to Foden, very central Foden I must say, and then forward from the position of the left back, and that's cut out on the edge of the box by Sofal, and West Ham should get it away. They should get it away. Let's go to Selhurst Park next. Hamish Marshall.
We think it's Crystal Palace 1, Aston Villa 0. Long VAR checks taking place at the moment. Jean-Philippe Mateta continuing his great run of form, shot home from 12 yards out. Just a question over offside. Players are waiting to restart. We don't know, but it stands at Villa trailing by a goal to 0.
Livingston 0, Hibernian 1. Maizani Mayolida has scored that one for Hibs. And Doku into the penalty area now on the left hand side. His ball across, that's blocked away. West Ham defending in strong numbers inside the penalty area. City come again. Doku holds off the challenge from Sofal, who gets in at him again, and actually credit to Sofal, is able to come out with the ball. What a storm they're facing here, West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm talking before the game, what do West Ham have to do? They have to defend deep. Yes, they have to defend well. They probably have to make contact with Manchester City, maybe prepared to give a few fouls away. At the moment, they can't get close enough. The speed at which Manchester City are playing through the middle of the pitch, 1 and 2 touch, the awareness of what's over the shoulder. Phil Foden, in particular, at the heart of it. 3 or 4 West Ham players around him think they've got him. They haven't. And at the moment, West Ham just can't seem to get a kick of the ball.
Yeah, that Mateta goal has been confirmed for Crystal Palace. So Palace leading 1-0 against Aston Villa, who of course are already sure of their place in the Champions League for next season. And more good news for St Johnstone, because it is now Ross County 1, Aberdeen 2, and Jamie McGrath has got a second for Aberdeen, so thereby increasing St Johnstone's chances, which they would do if the match is finished right now, of avoiding relegation. Manchester City winning a free kick in the West Ham right back area, so this could spell more trouble for them. Foden and De Bruyne over there together. You'd think it would be whipped in by De Bruyne, who might actually go for goal from here. Foden runs over it, then De Bruyne, he does whip it straight at the West Ham goalkeeper, who quickly got his fists up in front of his face and beat it back out from where it came and out for a throw on the far side.
Yeah, it was one you'd expect him to make from that angle, when it being pretty much towards the front post, but Kevin De Bruyne did hit it well. But West Ham just had everybody, barring the 2 players in the wall, inside that 6-yard box. I'm surprised Man City didn't try and just work something. They had Bernardo Silva on the edge of the penalty area unmarked, but it's still been a blistering start for Man City.
So Manchester City doing what they need to do. Arsenal still 0-0. Arsenal have got to win that match today and hope that Manchester City don't. But the early goal from Phil Foden, who received his Football Writers Award on Thursday night. He wasn't able to go to London for the ceremony because of this match, but here's Bernardo Silva on the right hand side, tried to scoop it into the penalty area, but that was cut out by Emerson, but he just ran into a wall of sky blue, and Manchester City have got it back again. Rodri, then back towards Foden. Bernardo Silva on the right and Foden in a central position. I did wonder if it would be the other way around, but he is so central, Foden, although he turns a full 360 degrees and then I think does the first thing wrong that he's done today. He gave it away to Mikel Antonio.
He gave a pass away.
What's going on?
That was surprising, wasn't it? But
get those awards off him.
West Ham are so deep when they pick the ball up there. They've got nowhere to go, no one to break. Antonio gets it. He's completely on his own. And yeah, it's West Ham are defending deep, but they need to figure out a way of not gambling as such, but getting people further up the pitch.
Back to Burnley, Sani Radravajala.
Well, Forest have got the goal ball in the net. Chris Wood diverting a shot in for a second, but it is being checked for offside. It looked like it was, but VAR is currently ongoing. Currently it's Burnley 0, Forest 1. Forest may have a second.
Okay, 1-0 to Manchester City. And next it is to Bramall Lane, their last day in the Premier League for the time being. Charlie Slater.
And it's not off to a good start for them. 14 minutes on the clock. Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 1. Kulusevski, left hand side of the penalty area, a low hard shot in off of the far post. 1-0 Tottenham.
So Tottenham thereby strengthening their position in 5th place and the place in the Europa League group stage, which would go with that. So let's see how things have started at Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea are up against Bournemouth. John Southall.
And that result means that Chelsea would finish 6th if it finished like that. This here, where it's Chelsea 0, Bournemouth 0. Early chances though. Nicholas Jackson denied by Neto. Cole Palmer's shot wide. One for Bournemouth. Semenyo 16 yards out, straight at Petrovic. Chelsea 0, Bournemouth 0.
And that match should be on Sports Extra now. If it's not, it will be shortly for the commentary with Sohail Sahi and Adrian Mariappa. So BBC Sounds Digital Radio for Chelsea Bournemouth. Manchester City West Ham here on 5 Live, BBC Sounds and the World Service, and Emerson carrying it forward from the halfway line. What a run this is. He's beaten 2 men, he's up towards the edge of the penalty area, but then he's just passed it slightly behind Sofal on the right, and Sofal's cross into the area is cleared away by Kyle Walker. Not sure, that might be the first time West Ham have been in the Manchester City box.
Yeah, it was an opportunity as well. I mean, he should have, if he could have kept going there, Emerson. He got through a brilliant little gap and burst into the edge of the Manchester City's penalty area. He just ran past the ball. He didn't give himself a chance to take it with him and get a shot away, but for a moment there, Manchester City were worried.
And back to Burnley, what's the news, Sonny?
Well, it's a goal's been given. It's a 14th of the season for Chris Wood, diverting in a shot in a lengthy delay on offside. Forest fans were actually singing against VAR. Now they're chanting for VAR. It's Burnley 0, Nottingham Forest 2.
Yeah, sense of humour. Manchester City leading by 1-0 and on course to retain the title. Back to Chelsea, John Southall.
What about this? Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 0. Moises Caicedo with his first goal from the club, just inside the Bournemouth half, spotted Neto way off his line, over his head and into the net. Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 0.
And that is now on Sports Extra. Chelsea making a strong finish to the season. You wouldn't have thought that would be possible at one stage, Leon, but now some of the teams that it looks as though they're going to finish above, not least Newcastle and Manchester United.
Developing very well, Chelsea. I think there was always signs there, wasn't there? It was just consistency and getting everyone on the same page, but there's no doubt about the quality of their players.
Manchester City with Rodri, just trots forward and then taps the ball to his left to Akanji. Manuel Akanji. The Swiss have already named their squad for the Euros. I don't know whether you saw that, Leon. They named a squad of 38. Here's Doku into the penalty area on the left. He shoots and it's saved well by Areola, who's been peppered with shots. And this was a very good save to push it over the top of the crossbar for a Manchester City corner, which is coming up after Charlie Slater at Sheffield United.
17 and a half gone here, but we're not playing at the moment. There appears to have been an incident amongst the Sheffield United fans away to the right-hand side. Someone in need of emergency medical treatment, so the game has been stopped. It remains 1-0 here to Tottenham.
Thank you, Charlie. So we'll be back with you to find out more about that. Manchester City with this corner then from the right-hand side after that decent save from Areola from the shot from Doku. It's taken short, comes back to Foden, the corner taker, then he sets up De Bruyne just outside the D, tried to find the shooting position, but it wouldn't open up for him. However, City get the ball to the left hand side to Bernardo Silva. His cross was blocked by Sofal. 1 or 2 shouts for handball over there after he blocked that on the edge of the area, the West Ham man. Rodri then, high pass out to the right hand side. Doku, great controlled it on the half volley, shoots into the foot of the near post where Areola goes down and makes another save, pushing this away, and actually he's kept in play, although it does eventually roll out of play for a throw into West Ham in their own left back area. And James Ward-Prowse and David Moyes are both saying to the fourth official, Doku kicked the ball away there, shouldn't he be yellow carded? But I think anything to slow things down at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think they'll mind the break at the moment, but so you think Jeremy Doku has started this game particularly well, whether it be on the left hand side or the right, where he's cutting inside. Both fullbacks, wingbacks are finding it very difficult to deal with him.
De Bruyne's got it back. Now Rodri pokes one low. It absolutely opened up for Rodri, but I think he was on the stretch there, and it was a bit of a toe poker, wasn't it, that he sent just wide of the foot of the post.
Yeah.
This could already be 5-0.
Yeah, good. Well, it was really good play from Kevin De Bruyne, winning the ball back in the corner, and he tried to play the ball into Phil Foden, who is going berserk because Rodri stepped in front and took the ball off him. He did so at a stretch, and in doing so, he was off balance and the ball was in the middle of his foot. The best effort for him to get a shot away, he felt, was to toe poke it, and he didn't get it right, missed the target. But as I say, Phil Foden going mad behind him.
Leon, I was at Tottenham covering the match on Tuesday night, and it did feel at the end that they felt, Manchester City, that they'd cleared the most difficult hurdle. That's what the celebrations said. You know, you thought, well, maybe they're a little premature, but seeing how they are today, there's absolutely no hint, is there?
There's a supreme confidence in their ability individually and as a team, and even moments ago, when they were just slacking with regards to one or two tackles, Pep Guardiola in front was going crazy himself, and have such levels.
City flowing again, and now Foden once more, left foot, this time Doku's ball in from the left hand side, right into Foden's path, and in the same movement, left foot, beyond Areola, and it's Manchester City 2, West Ham 0, and already the champions are doing it in style.
Yeah, I mean, they can just make a goal out of anywhere, can't they? And the two players I've said really have been at it today. Jeremy Doku, Phil Foden, the two players that create and score the goal. I mentioned about Pep Guardiola unhappy with certain aspects of the game. He's demanding more and more from his side, which you're probably surprised about, but I think the players know they have to be at the very top level in every moment, and it's brilliant play down the left hand side. Haaland comes in deep, Doku goes long, he plays the ball out wide. Doku doesn't need to beat the defender this time, he drags two players over, Soufal and Mavropanos. That creates the space inside. Phil Foden steps into it, it's a nicely weighted pass into him, he just needs to side foot it as it comes across him into the far post of the far left hand, outstretched hand of the goalkeeper, who can't really do much about it. Brilliant finish, wonderful goal. City very much in control.
City look like a team that is going to win the league. Well, they've looked like that for quite a few weeks now, for months, and Phil Foden extends his best goal scoring season yet to 27 goals in all competitions, 19 in the Premier League. It feels it here, and I guess Ian Dennis with you as well at Arsenal, it must feel there as well like the game is up.
Well, Arsenal 0, Everton 0. There was a feverish atmosphere ahead of the opening exchanges, but even after that first goal, that was diluted somewhat. And now, yes, you're right, John, there is a realisation that it won't be the beautiful day that Mikel Arteta had dreamt about. Arsenal, though, have still got to focus on their job in hand, and that is to win, and they're drawing 0-0. Pickford's made 3 decent saves in the first half so far.
Thanks, Ian. So 2-0 now to Manchester City. 2 goals for Phil Foden inside the first 20 minutes. The second goal scored in the 18th minute. He got the first after 79 seconds, by the way. That's how long Manchester City supporters had to wait before their team went in front. They are now back underway at Sheffield United, incidentally, where Tottenham are leading by 1-0. And to Brentford again, and Alistair Bruce Ball.
Brentford 0, Newcastle 1. A rare thing, a Harvey Barnes header has given Newcastle the lead. They know a win here, they will finish at least 7th. They would keep Manchester United at bay as these teams battle for the European places. Brentford 0, Newcastle 1.
In the Premiership, St Johnstone's still winning 2-0 at Motherwell, and Aberdeen winning 2-1 at Ross County. So St Johnstone will be staying up, but in the Ross County match, Aberdeen are now down to 10 men because Angus MacDonald's been sent off in the last half hour of that match. So Aberdeen now with 10 men. So St Johnstone will obviously be watching their match, but keeping a close eye and ear on what's happening at Ross County. But scene of celebration here, Leon Osman. City fans on their feet, singing their songs. What a great first 20 minutes for them in the circumstances.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. I mean, they couldn't have asked for more, not just the goals, but the performance of the team, the way they're dominating, West Ham struggling to get out. I mean, on paper, this is not the ideal place to go. Last game of the season when City are going for the title of your West Ham, but you get here, the sun's shining, it's difficult. City are in this kind of form, momentum, attitude. And it just shows how difficult a task, and the heads are gone already.
They've lost it again, West Ham. De Bruyne takes it on. Here's Haaland, yet to get in on the act, but it was just taken away from him by Mavropanos near the penalty spot, between the edge of the area and the penalty spot. Otherwise, he might have been in. He's made a quiet start to the match, Haaland, but I'm not sure anyone's really too bothered about that.
No, I don't think Haaland probably is. I think he wants to score a goal. That was a nearly opportunity there. He could have just dropped his shoulder. Good defending. Well saved.
Great point, Leon. Apart from the man himself. Doku, now De Bruyne on the edge of the area. He's been everywhere. Doku's been everywhere. Doku now curls one right across the face of goal and beyond the far post via a deflection. Another corner to Manchester City. While they organise themselves, let's head to Anfield and see what the mood is like there. Maz Faruqi.
Bright start from both sides, John. Great chance for Wan Hee-chan for Wolves, put round his right post by Alisson, and Gakpo just going wide at the other end. But I don't think the Kop would stop singing even if Liverpool did go behind, but it is still Liverpool 0, Wolves 0.
Phil Foden to take the corner. Foden, who is already on a hat-trick now. That would be his third of the season if he's able to complete it, and he's got plenty of time. Foden's ball in, it's headed away for West Ham on the edge of the area. A stretch from Bernardo Silva to see it back to Walker, then De Bruyne. Now here is Foden again on the right flank, infield to Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva drives it in, Guardiola cross, and Haaland couldn't convert. I mean, he was already falling, his leg was up possibly six feet off the ground, and he couldn't hook it in from point blank range. It's not like his miss in the Manchester United match all over again. But I'm surprised it didn't go in.
Well, that's, by his standards, that is a huge miss. It's not far off other misses as you've just mentioned we've seen this season. I think it's Mavropanos just gets across and stretches and just makes him take his eye off the ball maybe. But by his standards, the ball coming across the goal 3 yards out, he has a clear look at it. It's coming onto his foot, and for him not to make contact, albeit it was foot in the air.
Now Foden's going to have another goal, and Areola's able to beat it away. It was just above him into his left, the West Ham goalkeeper, but I think it had swerve on it as well. But my goodness, that was hit by Foden.
Well, he certainly wants his hat-trick, doesn't he? I mean,
hat-trick, I think he wants 6.
I think the best thing about him at the minute is decision-making. It's when to take a shot, when to run forward, when to play a pass, when to play a through ball. When you're at the peak of your powers like he is at the moment, you get the majority of those decisions right, and he's limping at the moment. I'm sure there's a bit of concern from every England fan and Gareth Southgate considering the form he's in. We do not want him to pick up any kind of injury at the moment.
No, we'll keep an eye on 2-goal Phil Foden. He's just pulling up his socks at the moment and limping away, but there's no hint of a look over here towards Guardiola, although he is just having a look over now, but I think he's okay. So it's a free kick to Manchester City, just forward of the centre circle. We've not heard how things have started between Huddersfield and Warrington in the second Challenge Cup semi-final, so here's Matt Newsom.
Yeah, Huddersfield 4, Warrington 28, just under half an hour to play. Warrington fans singing of Wembley. Matt Duffy going over after Ben Curry's charged down. Warrington in the box seat, Huddersfield 4, Warrington 28.
Yes, absolutely, 3:15 kick-off. Our timings are all over the place this afternoon, 4 o'clock kick-offs. That's on BBC 2, by the way, the Huddersfield-Warrington semi-final. 2-0 for Manchester City, and Foden, I think he's okay, Leon? I think he's all right?
Yeah, he'll be okay. He certainly won't want to leave the field. I think it was just a knock. He's already picked the ball up, played a couple of passes, but it surprises me, him and Kevin De Bruyne as well, how they keep on finding space. And West Ham know where they are. They're in their structure. They know where he's going to end up being, and yet he still seems to find space that they're unaware of, and it's a brilliant thing to have in your game.
So difficult, isn't it? Like now, as we're looking at it, both Foden and Bernardo Silva are on the right flank together, and actually Akanji gives it to Foden, who just drags it back. The ball's stationary at his feet now, then back to Akanji, who's got his hair tied right up on the top of his head today. What about that? 38 in the initial Switzerland squad, as Doku plays it in towards the corner of the box. Guardiola, then back to Rodri to Foden, first time touch, back to Akanji. He's going to have a go, and Areola has to save that as well, but a routine save this time.
Yeah, I mean,
in the midst of the saves that he's made today, that was straightforward.
It's shooting practice really for Manchester City, and West Ham are defending so deep. I mean, Akanji just had a shot from probably 24, 25 yards. Maybe that's one of Manchester City's deepest players, and it just shows that they might as well go and have them shots from that distance if West Ham aren't going to close them down.
Doku into the penalty area, pulls it back to the edge of the area. De Bruyne! Oh, that wasn't far wide. Well, Areola dived for it. I think he might have got a touch to it, you know. Either it took a deflection, or that's another save from Areola, and the defenders are going to him. Yeah, and they've given him little pats and such like he did. He got his hand to it.
It's a wonderful save. I mean,
save. He's man of the match so far.
Yeah,
for West Ham.
And Kevin De Bruyne has had that shot, yes, under a little bit of pressure, but from inside West Ham's penalty area this time. They're getting deeper and deeper and deeper, West Ham, and if you're going to allow Kevin De Bruyne to shoot from inside your penalty area on a regular basis, West Ham are in for a tough afternoon on the score sheet.
Ross County now have made it 2-2. Jan Dander's got a second. Corner comes into the near post and it's headed wide. It was a twisting Gvardiol at the near post. He headed it wide of the near post. So it is still only Manchester City 2, West Ham 0. David Moyes' side in his last match as the manager of this great club, they've barely been out of their own half. They're fortunate it's not 4 or 6. Goal kick. Let's head to Anfield again, where Maz Faruqi.
Well, Wolves are not a fan of VAR, as we know, John, and they've just had a yellow card for Nelson Semedo, upgraded to a red for a challenge on McAllister. His studs make connection with McAllister's left ankle. Chris Kavanagh asked to go look at the pitch side monitor, switch the yellow for a red. Still 0-0, but Wolves down to 10.
Livingston 1, Hibs 1 now. Bruce Anderson with the equaliser for Livingston. 2-0 Manchester City. By the way, do join us in the last hour of the programme today on 5 Live Sport before 6:06 with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, when we'll have all of the fallout, all of the reaction, the trophy presentation here, and also Jurgen Klopp's final speech. Doku into the penalty area, back to De Bruyne, left foot shot from him, that's blocked. Sofal inside the penalty area, and the ball bounces away out of play into those oversized advertising boards on the far side of the ground that are currently advertising a beverage that would be very pleasant in these very warm conditions here. And I think there will be some celebrations tonight, particularly the way that City have played. They've been just irresistible. And Gvardiol now into the penalty area, back to the edge of the box. De Bruyne, now Doku, he's dispossessed inside the penalty area by Kudus. And then Sofal tries to and is successful in winning a goal kick off Doku. That's a minor triumph for West Ham.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it shows how deep West Ham are having to defend. Kudus is winning the ball back inside his own penalty area for a moment there. Because Doku's had such an influence on this Manchester City team, they've started to bring help over to Sofal. Souček's had to go over at times. Mavropanos has tried to go over just to double up against Doku, and that's creating spaces everywhere else for Manchester City. That's why Kevin De Bruyne has had a couple of shots now unmarked inside the penalty area.
So Manchester City absolutely dominant here against West Ham. What about Arsenal against Everton? Ian Dennis.
13 minutes to go to half-time. It's still 0-0. Everton have just hit the post. Calvert-Lewin, right-footed shot off the base of the left-hand post. He put the rebound into the side netting. Still goalless.
West Ham trying to forge some sort of attack, but they got 8 yards into Manchester City territory, and now City sweep forward. Gvardiol, here's Haaland, half saved by Areola, and it bounces wide off the goalkeeper's body, but the offside flag was up against the big man.
Yeah, probably would have been close, but I mean, again, sweeping move. Gvardiol spotting the space centrally as Kevin De Bruyne picked the ball up. He didn't run in a left back position, he ran right into the middle of the pitch to pick the ball up. Gvardiol brilliantly, like a number 10, a Phil Foden stepping in there, steps in, slips a lovely straight pass for the diagonal run of Erling Haaland. Keeper made that good save with his left hand anyway, but fractionally offside as we see the replay.
Remains Manchester City 2, West Ham 0. 5 Live, BBC Sounds, the World Service on this last Sunday afternoon of this Premier League season. It's been quiet at Brighton, Manchester United. Henry Moran, what's happening?
Well, it has been quiet. Brighton 0, Manchester United 0. Brighton by far the better side. João Pedro just flashing the ball across goal. A series of good chances for Brighton. De Zerbi on the touchline, enthusiastic, energetic. Ten Hag sits motionless. Nothing he can do but watch this tepid Manchester United side.
This Manchester City side is far from tepid. It's red hot. Doku on the left-hand side. I think he's just taken a knock from Sofal. and referee John Brooks is just trotting over there into the sunshine to see how he is.
Yeah, the ball just hit him in the face. Soufal tried to clear the ball over his head, hook it clear, put a bit behind his clearance, and it just smashed into the face of Doku. Just wanted a moment, but what preceded that was exactly what Manchester City are about, dropping into spaces, getting the ball on the half turn, playing one or two touch football around these West Ham players, and Bernardo Silva nearly seeing a pass that nobody else saw. Thankfully for West Ham, Soufal was alive to it, otherwise Jeremy Doku would have been bearing down 1v1 with his goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's okay, and Areola will overarm it out as Manchester City to the halfway line, and there's an offside flag up, so a free kick to West Ham 10 yards inside their own half. You've just spotted, the television cameras have picked out Calvin Phillips, who is injured, but obviously as a City player couldn't play in this match anyway, ineligible against his parent club. You really do think, what on earth is he going to do next season?
I also wonder, firstly, what's he thinking about Manchester City's team winning the title, but he's not played. He's been on loan at West Ham, he can't get in that team. He's fallen away from the England team. It's been a tough spell for him.
Back to Anfield, Maz Farouki.
Liverpool lead the 10 men of Wolves. Alexis McAllister with the header past Jose Sal. Lovely cross on the right hand side. Really perfect delivery from Harvey Elliott in the build up. Liverpool 1, 10 man Wolves 0.
So the other latest scores: Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 1, so Tottenham will be finishing in 5th. Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 0. Chelsea will be finishing in 6th. Commentary on that on Sports Extra right now. It's Brentford 0, Newcastle 1, Brighton 0, Manchester United 0, Burnley 0, Nottingham Forest 2, so Forest's survival will be confirmed. We've got commentary on that online via the football pages of the BBC Sport website. Luton 0, Fulham 0, as we just heard from Maz. Liverpool 1-0 up against 10-man Wolves, and Crystal Palace 1, Aston Villa 0. And there's also commentary on the Palace match online. Here is De Bruyne. De Bruyne tried to find that pass through into the penalty area. It was blocked on the edge of the area. Foden is then all over Kudus. City very nearly win it back, and Ward-Prowse is just able to get a foot to it to pull it away. And West Ham are back in position on the edge of their own penalty area. Back to Brentford, Alistair Bruce-Ball.
Newcastle looking very good for at least 7th place now. Brentford 0, Newcastle 2. Mistake by Ethan Pinnock. He thought he'd rescued it, but Alexander Isak managed to take the ball off him. Down the left he went, crossed in for Jacob Murphy, who has side-footed it home. So Newcastle now want Bournemouth to do them a favour at Stamford Bridge, but it's Brentford 0, Newcastle 2.
And there is still the possibility, isn't there, of European football for Newcastle United if Manchester United were able to win the FA Cup next weekend. Kudus is sent away down the right hand side, but Ortega, who's been an absolute spectator, is quickly out of his penalty area to clear the ball out of play into the lower tier of the stand opposite. West Ham take a quick throw. It's headed down and away by Akanji, and then deflected out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City. The FA Cup final next Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. You'll hear that on 5 Live. Champions League final will be on 5 Live the Saturday after, and of course blanket comprehensive coverage of the Euros from Germany right across the BBC, but all of the matches on 5 Live, Sports Extra, and indeed online. Here's Foden halfway inside his own half, but we're going back to Brentford again, and Alistair Bruce-Ball.
Yeah, Brentford falling apart, making mistakes inside their own half. This one allowed the ball to be fed through for Alexander Isak. Wonderful finish from the angle into the bottom corner. Brentford 0, Newcastle 3.
Thomas Frank is going to be part of our coverage at the Euros. Might not mention the final match of the season to him if it stays like that or gets any worse. David Moyes as well, part of the BBC team at the Euros this summer, and he's just at the moment in discussions. I mean how many managers have been in his position here where your team is absolutely put through the ringer by Manchester City, but even by City's standards this has been a real cowsling, isn't it?
Such a difficult position. I mean, he's had a wonderful time at West Ham, but the decision to part company a few weeks back, the players know that he's not going to be their manager next season. They're coming up against a blistering
flicks, tricks, City, Foden, De Bruyne, now Bernardo Silva on the right hand side, back to Foden inside the box, square from him, Rodri's having a goal, but Areola's able to dive to his right and he catches it this time. So 2-0 remains the Manchester City lead. Back to the Challenge Cup semi-final. Matt Newsom.
Yeah, Huddersfield 4, Warrington 34. Manchester City style rugby league from the wire. A try from Matt Duffy, giving them a 30-point advantage, and they lead Huddersfield by 4 points to 34.
And the ball's out of play for a throw-in to West Ham on the halfway line. Back to Selhurst Park, Hamish Marshall.
Jean-Philippe Mateta is absolutely loving his time at Selhurst Park at the moment. He's just scored his 8th goal in 7 games. Cross on the right-hand side. Nice finish from 6 yards out. Crystal Palace 2, Aston Villa 0.
As West Ham tried to bring it through the middle, but it's turned back to Cresswell here. Cresswell, long left-footed ball to Kudus on the edge of the penalty area. He chests it down up against Gvardiol in the box, and then comes in onto his left foot, twists Gvardiol, shoots right-footed, saved by Ortega, and that's a good save, pushing it away across the penalty area to preserve Manchester City's clean sheet. And there now has been an opening goal at Arsenal. Ian Dennis.
And in a game that Arsenal have to win, they are behind 5 minutes before half-time. A free kick. It was Garner Gay, direct free kick, took a wicked deflection, gave Brian no chance. Arsenal 0, Everton 1.
So they had to win, Arsenal, but your old club Everton are spoiling things for Arsenal. Long pass forward from the back from Zuma. With this scoreline, though, whatever Arsenal did, it wouldn't be enough. However, they want to certainly put themselves in a position whereby, should the highly unlikely happen, then they would be in a position to benefit. So Arsenal need to respond.
Yeah, of course. I mean, every team wants to win every game, the last game of the season, especially where they are in that moment. Arsenal, Everton obviously doing a good job, but you know, West Ham in that flash there have shown that they are capable of scoring a goal. What they have to do is try and isolate Kudus with Gvardiol in that moment. Long ball over the top, he brings it down, he's 1v1 in the penalty area. Gvardiol gets twisted and turned, and Kudus managed to get a shot away, which Ortega had to make a good save from. So they are capable, West Ham, of scoring a goal if they can get Kudus the ball.
Yep, they could do with Jared Bowen, though, who's not involved, if you missed it earlier, out of the match today with tonsillitis. And he's another one as well who'll be hoping for good news with the England squad on Tuesday. Back to Liverpool, Maz Faruqi.
Liverpool have a second. Jarrell Kwanzaa bundling the ball, making sure it found the back of the net. Mo Salah actually with a shot from the 6-yard area as the corner was swept in from the right-hand side. But Jarrell Kwanzaa gets the final touch as Wolves can't defend their area. Liverpool 2, 10-man Wolves 0.
Manchester City again bringing it forward with Gvardiol. And now Rodri behind him, pass out to the right hand side with a flourish. Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. You'd never have known that there was an injury worry over Kevin De Bruyne coming into this match. He's been absolutely everywhere. Vintage Kevin De Bruyne turns 33 this summer as City have the ball with Gvardiol out to Doku on the left hand side. Doku into the penalty area, but he's lifted that one over everyone inside the penalty area, and Bernardo Silva keeps it in on the right hand side, and then he sets off up against Emerson. Bernardo Silva to Foden square from him. Gvardiol tries to tee up De Bruyne 23 yards out. De Bruyne back onto his right foot, and then back to Akanji again. And West Ham with everyone apart from Mikel Antonio behind the ball. A flick from Foden, Gvardiol back through into the area, but beyond Foden and through to Areola.
That's why they're brilliant at Manchester City. The patience of their attack and the change in the tempo. They were playing about, they thought they could get in, they got into this number 10 pocket. West Ham quickly narrowed off, and then they're happy just to come out and keep the ball and play it slow and just wait for that next opportunity to come, where they then speed it up with a couple of quick passes. Back heel flick from Phil Foden, and nearly received the pass back from Gvardiol. And West Ham concentration levels are having to be so high. The moment they just lose concentration for a moment, Manchester City find themselves in brilliant positions to try and score another.
Leon, this has been the ultimate test today, hasn't it? There is no more difficult test than coming here to face a Manchester City team in this sort of mood.
No, and obviously missing a big part of your weaponry and Jared Bowen to get you up the pitch, but you know, they can work across and get backwards and forwards, but unless they actually find a way of scoring.
As Walker has to put the ball out of play at the back post as the cross came over from the right. And it will be a corner to West Ham, but what's happened at Arsenal now, Ian Dennis?
Arsenal are level. Everton's lead lasted all of 3 minutes. It was Ødegaard on the right-hand side with a cutback, and Tomiyasu just inside the penalty area, right-footed, swept it home. Arsenal 1, Everton 1.
Remember, Arsenal have got to win and hope that Manchester City don't, but City have this 2-goal lead after a furious first half hour in which Foden scored both of the goals. So he's now on 19 in the Premier League this season and 27 in all competitions. But it's a corner to West Ham. Ward-Prowse high towards the back post. It bounces down inside the penalty area, only half cleared, and there's an overhead kick in from Kudus, and West Ham have got a goal back, and what a goal that was! Wow! An overhead kick that flew over Ortega into the back of the net, and it's absolutely stunned almost the whole of the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City 2, West Ham 1. So first, Arsenal equalise, and then West Ham get a goal back. It's not over yet.
Maybe it's not. I mean, Manchester City players straight to the referee claiming that there was a hand in there somewhere. It's difficult to tell. The ball ricocheted around. It was a deep ball to the back post from James Ward-Prowse. There was a coming together. Mavropanos was in there, bounced out. But the moment Kudus got close to it, he flicked it up into the air, and at its height, jumped like you wouldn't believe. Overhead kick, met it at its highest point. Top corner, Ortega could do nothing about it. I said if they were going to score, it would be through Kudus, and maybe after this VAR check, that will be the case.
And I think it might have been ruled out, because Haaland has just knocked the ball back to the edge of the penalty area. We're still waiting for John Brooks to actually confirm this. So even though Haaland's played the ball back to Ortega, no, the goal has been given. Well, that was an odd one. So the goal has been given, and Kudus has made it Manchester City 2, West Ham 1. So there is a glimmer, Ian, for Arsenal.
The Emirates has been re-energised with news of that goal. It had certainly fallen flat when Manchester City were leading by 2-0, but with that goal coming hot on the heels of the Tomiyasu equaliser, the Emirates all of a sudden just starts to believe yet again. 7 minutes of added on time, 1-1.
Well, that's a contender for goal of the day from Kudus, mind you. So was Phil Foden's. To Luton, first goal of the afternoon, Chris Coles.
And it's gone to Fulham, although their lead might not last long because Luton have just been awarded a penalty. Fulham in front, Adama Traore's fine volley into the bottom corner. Luton have a penalty pending a VAR check. Luton 0, Fulham 1.
And it was a Souček handball that they were looking for in the midst of all that, Leon. VAR, though, decided against it. We're just saying it again. I think he would have been unlucky if it had been ruled out for that.
If it did, it brushed it, and he knew nothing about it. He was trying to compete with, of all people, I think, Bernardo Silva at the back post. He was just trying to be a nuisance, and in doing so, it knocked down, and Kudus was just the first to react. And you know, they've started to grow into this game, West Ham. They've started to get forward, especially on that side where Kudus is up against Vardiol. Most of their good plays come down there, forced a corner, and with James Ward-Prowse delivering, you may always have a chance with someone like Souček attacking the ball, and Kudus showing his quality.
Yep, scoring in the 42nd minute. So 2-1 is the scoreline now, intriguingly. Back to Luton, Chris Coles.
Where the penalty was scored very tidily by Carlton Morris, tucked into the bottom left-hand corner, given for a foul on Ogbene by Bassi in the Fulham box. Luton 1, Fulham 1.
So 2-1 going on 6-1, but it is still in the balance. And the reaction inside the stadium here, you could barely hear the West Ham supporters celebrating, and it was just silence around the other parts of the stadium. That was a real shocker. Akanji playing the ball out to the left-hand side. Kudus now into the box, still going, works it across. Haaland lifts it over the top, 7 yards out. Zuma threw himself in there in front of Haaland, which might have been a factor, but even so, again, Haaland, you would have expected the net to ripple.
Yeah, I mean, he's so good stepping into that area, but West Ham have got a real problem with how to deal with Jeremy Doku up against Soufal on that right-hand side, because every time Doku picks the ball up, he's twisting and turning, either coming in for a shot or going on the outside to deliver that kind of ball across the 6-yard box, and Haaland actually got across the defender there and just scooped it over the top of the crossbar. It wasn't the easiest of chances, but he certainly would have expected to score.
Sudden goal fest at Kenilworth Road. Chris Coles.
Out of nowhere, this game has burst into life. A second for Fulham. They're back in front. Raul Jimenez, really good finish this, arriving late, tucked into the bottom corner. 3 goals in 3 minutes. Luton 1, Fulham 2.
So Luton 1, Fulham 2. Luton's relegation being confirmed today. Nottingham Forest are winning 2-0 at Burnley. And in the matches affecting the European places, Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 1, so that will be Tottenham clinching 5th. Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 0, that's on Sports Extra. Chelsea will finish in 6th. Newcastle winning well at Brentford, and still Brighton 0, Manchester United 0. So there is that possibility of Manchester United missing out on European football. They've got to win the FA Cup, it would seem, with these scorelines to qualify for Europe. And Newcastle will be hoping they don't do that. If Newcastle are able to get into Europe, they need Manchester City to win the FA Cup next weekend. Here's Ward-Prowse, deep inside his own half, right-footed ball forward but over the top of Antonio, and it's played back to the edge of the penalty area by Ruben Dias. Real shock to the system, the West Ham goal, but what a finish it was. Talk about a classic bicycle kick from 12 yards out. And that's given away by Akanji. And now West Ham suddenly are interested in this. Kudus with the ball over on the far side. Then infield towards Paquetá. Kudus again. Lovely flick by Paquetá. Then square out towards the left-hand side from Souček. Cresswell is there. Cresswell. This by a country mile, the most enjoyable period of the game for the West Ham supporters. Ward-Prowse from a deep lying position to Tofal on the right. Tofal's ball in is cleared away by Akanji, and suddenly I can hardly believe this, but there are now jitters in the home sections.
I was going to say the whole feel of the stadium has really changed, especially with West Ham taking the ball.
Deep ball into the City box, but it's caught by Ortega at the back post.
And having been in such control of this game, Manchester City should have had more goals than they have done. That West Ham goal has just brought that little bit of nervousness to the stadium, knowing with 1 goal in it, with West Ham showing already they can score.
Rodri over the top for Foden to chase, but out comes Areola, and he's able to gather that ball. And now all of those Areola saves look absolutely vitally important, not just for West Ham in this match, but for Arsenal in the title race, where it is 1-1 at the Emirates. Arsenal 1, Everton 1. Arsenal have to win that game and hope that Manchester City don't. And there is the half-time whistle after 4 minutes of added time. Quite the half, Leon Osman.
Wow, I mean, what a start to a game that if you win the Premier League title. They couldn't have asked for a better start. They couldn't have asked for a more influential first half performance from Phil Foden. That first 25 minutes in particular was outstanding. He was at the heart of everything. Jeremy Doku certainly complimented him in a wonderful way down that left-hand side. And City will look back at that period and think the game should have been done. They should have been 4, maybe even 5 goals ahead at that point. But as we always say, if you don't take your chances, the opposition have opportunities themselves, and in Kudus they have an outstanding player, West Ham, who does know where the goal is. His goal was outstanding, out of nothing really, but it's just brought a bit of nervousness into this stadium that City know with 1 goal in this, anything could happen, and they'll want to see their team start in the second half in much the same way and put this game out of reach for West Ham.
Yeah, brilliant bicycle kick from Kudus to make it 2-1 after Foden's 2 early goals, and with Barry Manilow playing at the new arena close by.
Oh no!
For 35 minutes it looked like it was going to be Copacabana, and suddenly they ended up in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh dear. Ian Dennis.
I'm saying nothing. Half-time here at the Emirates. It's Arsenal 1, Everton 1. And it was Everton taking the lead after they'd earlier hit the post through Calvert-Lewin. It was a Ghana Gay direct free kick, right-footed, struck the top of the head of Bryce and gave Raya no chance. However, the lead lasted all of 3 minutes as Arsenal equalised through Tomiyasu sweeping it home from Ødegaard's cutback. It was a feverish atmosphere at the start, and then when news of those 2 City goals filtered through, there was a realisation that it maybe wasn't going to be Arsenal's day. However, with the Tomiyasu equaliser, and then obviously West Ham getting a goal back, the Emirates was re-energised, and almost to the extent that there was some misinformation and there was a large number of Arsenal supporters who started celebrating wildly because they'd heard that it was 2-2. Luckily, Mark Warburton, we were hearing to the dulcet tones of John, and we knew the truth.
No, absolutely. And I'm sure this crowd here will keep the players well informed in the second half of what's going on away from them. Their focus has to be winning this game of football, because right now Everton are resolute, they're hard to break down, they pose a threat on the counter, Calvert-Lewin's physicality, McNeil's running with the ball, and they're dangerous, so there's no doubt this is a tough job for them. Focus on what they have to do here, and then, as I say, events away from them will come into play.
Do you think that, though, the way that Arsenal had started and then the scoreline from the Etihad had filtered through, do you think that had an effect on the Arsenal team?
Yeah, obviously this type of situation, this scenario with the crowd here and how much passion and emotions involved in, there's no doubt about that, but I think they have to recognise that Everton are a good team. They've had a good run in the last 4 or 5 games. They pose a threat, as I said, on the counter, and they're good at set pieces as well with the physicality, so get the job done here. The crowd will keep them informed, and they can't control away from them.
Half-time then at the Emirates. It's Arsenal 1, Everton 1.
They're into stoppage time in the Scottish Premiership. Final games of the season in the bottom half. Motherwell have just pulled one back at home to St Johnstone. Motherwell 1, St Johnstone 2. It's Ross County 2, 10-man Aberdeen 2. At the moment, St Johnstone are staying up on goal difference. So if Ross County get a goal at home to 10-man Aberdeen, they would be staying up, and St Johnstone would be going into the relegation playoff. I would imagine the St Johnstone fans that you can see at Fir Park, Connie, are a little nervous.
Well, I tell you what, though, the full-time whistle's actually just gone here, Mark, and the St Johnstone players started celebrating until someone said, wait a minute, we're not 100% sure because that game in Ross County isn't finished just yet. So the fans that I can see on my right-hand side are just kind of milling around, just waiting, as are the players. Couple of handshakes going round, but everyone is just standing still, waiting to find out if the full-time whistle has gone at Dingwall. As it stands, though, it finished here at Fir Park. Motherwell 1, they got a goal back just a couple of seconds ago. Moses Abiy, St Johnstone 2. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, they're still playing at Dingwall into the 8th minute of second half stoppage time. Back to the Premier League. Jurgen Klopp's going to get 3 points in his final home game. Maz Faruqi?
Yeah, but Wolves went mighty close to a goal when they still had 11 players on the pitch. Hwang Hee-chan picking up the ball, in fact, after a Liverpool attacking free kick, and Alisson had to put it wide of the left post for a corner after Hwang's run forward and then his shot. But the Nelson Semedo red card for that challenge on Alexis McAllister was obvious statement, a bit of a turning point in this game. And the 2 Liverpool goals have then come from McAllister, here's a header, and then Jarell Kwanzaa just before half-time. Liverpool 2, 10-man Wolves 0.
Crystal Palace's good form continues. Hamish Marshall.
Certainly does. They're leading Aston Villa by 2-0, and they got more dominant as the half went on. A double from Jean-Philippe Mateta, making it 8 goals in his last 6 games. One a good finish from 12 yards. The second a striker's finish from a low ball in from the right. Villa had their moments. Dean Henderson twice denied Moussa Diaby, and Ollie Watkins had a header cleared off the line by Mark Gahey. But Palace are on course for a top 10 finish.
Villa already confirmed that they were going to finish 4th. Tottenham on course to finish 5th. Charlie Slater.
Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 1. Kulusevski with the only goal 14 minutes in. They've also hit the post through Bentancur, and Wes Foderingham has kept Sheffield United with a handful of excellent saves. It's been a disjointed first half. It was stopped for a few minutes when a Sheffield United supporter took ill, though he appeared to leave the stadium safely. And as it stands, Tottenham tightening their grip on Europa League football next season, and they lead 1-0 at the break.
Chelsea pushing them all the way. Let's go to Stamford Bridge. John Southall.
They lead Bournemouth by 1-0. So at the moment they're finishing 6th. That'll be Europa League or Conference League next season, depending on who wins the FA Cup. The goal was an absolute treat. Neto came sliding out of his goal to get to the ball before Raheem Sterling. His clearance fell to Moises Caicedo on the halfway line. He took a touch and pinged it back over Neto, and in it went a la David Beckham at Selhurst Park all those years ago. His first goal for the club, and what a way to open his account. Jackson and Palmer went close before that. For Bournemouth, they finished the half strongly. Christie and Tavernier both going close, but half-time, Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 0.
Guess what my favourite bit of that first half was?
The goal?
No. So Semenyo's wrestling move on Cucurella.
Yes. Just
his hair went everywhere.
His hair went everywhere, and then he was like, No penalty. Come on.
You'll probably see that on Match of the Day a little bit later on. Final whistle has gone at Dingwall. Ross County 2, Aberdeen 2. Ross County will be in the relegation playoff, and St Johnstone have survived by the skin of their teeth. Disappointing final match of the season for Brentford at home. Alistair, Bruce Ball.
Yeah, they're being walloped. Brentford 0, Newcastle 3. So Newcastle looking assured of 7th place at the very least. Remember, that won't guarantee European football because Manchester United could still win the FA Cup. But this has been an absolute stroll in the sunshine for Newcastle here. 3 goals in 16 minutes after Ivan Toney's early finish was ruled out for offside. Joe Linton also guilty of one of the worst misses of the season. That'll be on Match of the Day, I'm sure, tonight. Harvey Barnes spared his blushes, heading in for Newcastle's first. Jacob Murphy and Alexander Isak both scoring, taking advantage of very shoddy Brentford play in their own half. Brentford 0, Newcastle 3.
Regular listeners will know what I mean when I say John Southall should really have been at the game. Henry Moran is that.
Half-time, Brighton 0, Manchester United 0. Roberto De Zerbi's Brighton farewell with everything but a goal. Barco Moda and João Pedro all with more than presentable chances. United, who need to better Newcastle's result to reach the Europa Conference League next season, well, they've been poor. Garnacho with one moment of quality to force a low save from Steele. Brighton 0, Manchester United 0.
Nottingham Forest are enjoying themselves in the sunshine at Turf Moor. Sani.
Yeah, they are. Burnley 0, Nottingham Forest 2. Chris Wood scored more Premier League for Burnley than anyone else, 49, and as they return to the Championship, he's got both before the break for his current side. Anthony Elanga dangerous on either flank. It was his driving run and cross from the right. It was tapped in by Wood after less than 2 minutes. 12 minutes later, Wood got a second, redirecting a shot from outside the box by Ryan Yates. Long VAR call, but it was given for his 14th of the season. Bright skies in Burnley, but really dismal for the home side on the pitch. Half-time, Burnley 0, Nottingham Forest 2.
Luton definitely going down this afternoon. Chris Coles.
They are, all the action of this in a frenetic final few minutes of the half. First, Adama Traore putting Fulham 1 up. His first start for Fulham, slamming into the corner from the edge of the area. Luton responded immediately. Ogbene fell by Bassi in the Fulham box. Penalty given. Penalty scored by Carlton Morris calmly into the corner, but their parity was brief. Raul Jimenez sweeping home from just inside the box. 3 goals in 5 minutes. Luton's already assumed relegation is being rubber-stamped with this scoreline. Luton 1, Fulham 2.
Let's just go back to Connie at Motherwell, St Johnstone, with confirmation that St Johnstone have survived.
Oh, that was tense. I tell you what, I've no skin in the game and I was feeling it. They had to wait to find out what was happening, as I said, at Dingwall. But as the news filtered through here at Firth Park, it was delight, it was cheering. I think probably more than anything, it was relief. These St Johnstone players on the park now, celebrating with the Saints fans who've made the journey here, and probably just thinking to themselves, we've got away with that one, because it's not been a brilliant season for them. Adam Sidibe, probably the player of the match today, got on the score sheet, as did Nicky Clark. Gave them the points. Ross County's failure, obviously, to beat Aberdeen sealed their survival. But I tell you what, Mark, for next season, they have got work to do. New owners, and it'll have to be a new approach to the new season. But as it stands right now, it finished Motherwell 1, St Johnstone 2. St Johnstone are safe.
If you like jeopardy in your sport, then the Men's Challenge Cup semi-finals this weekend have been very disappointing. Matt Newsom.
Yes, utterly one-sided. Warrington have just gone in again for try number 8. 8 tries to 2. They have battered Huddersfield here. Roderick Ty finishing off. Sam Powell going over just a moment before that. Matt Duffy with 2 on this afternoon in the sunshine. Warrington fans have been cheering about Wembley. Sam Burgess will take his side to the National Stadium on his first season in charge. 27 seconds left. Huddersfield 10, Warrington 46.
Yeah, Warrington Wigan in the Men's Challenge Cup semi-final, and the women's will be between St Helens and Leeds after Leeds beat Wigan earlier on today. One bit of tennis news, and Emma Raducanu has confirmed why she's withdrawn from the French Open. She says it's not because of an injury, but to give herself a chance to keep fit for the rest of the year. The quote is, "It is important for me to keep laying on the foundations. I will use the time to do a healthy block before the grass and subsequent hard court seasons." The French Open gets underway this time next week, and full coverage across 5 Live and Sports Extra. 3 minutes past 5. Let's get the latest BBC News. Here's Joel Mitchell.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Thank you. Reports from Iran say a helicopter carrying the president has been involved in an accident. State television says rescuers are trying to reach the aircraft, and there are conflicting reports about whether it crashed or made an emergency landing. Our Middle East analyst is Sebastian Usher.
This is an area where it's mountainous, it's wooded, and we're hearing from these sources that there's particularly bad weather conditions there, that it's foggy. So a major rescue operation is underway, as you'd expect, but at the moment there's no clarity about what has happened.
In other news, senior Conservative and Labour politicians say the victims of the infected blood scandal have waited too long to know the truth about what happened. Thousands of people were given contaminated blood products by the NHS in the 1970s and 80s. An inquiry into the scandal will publish its final report tomorrow. And a 14-year-old boy has died after getting into difficulty in the River Tyne. Police were called to Ovingham Bridge in Northumberland yesterday afternoon. A 13-year-old boy was also rescued from the water. He's in a critical condition in hospital.
When I saw him the first time play, I said, we have Pelé here.
Discover the story of how a young boy from Paris has become a sporting phenomenon in Mbappe on BBC iPlayer.
There was a feeling that he was special.
That little kid is special, isn't he?
Support on the outside from Mbappe.
And sporting giants, Kylian Mbappe on BBC Sounds.
In my neighborhood, to make yourself a name or respected is difficult. Mbappe.
Kylian Mbappe.
Watch on iPlayer. Listen on BBC Sounds. This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Manchester City 2, West Ham 1, Arsenal 1, Everton 1. Second halves on the way on the final day of the Premier League season. From 8 o'clock tonight on Sports Extra, and then from 9 o'clock here on 5 Live, the final round of the US PGA. Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa are 1 shot clear of the field. It is tight behind them. I'm allowing myself to get excited, Ian Carter, but we've been here before and then someone pulls clear and it becomes a disappointment. But not tonight.
Well, this is a place that has a reputation for exciting finishes. Think all the way back 10 years ago when Rory McIlroy did it, beating Ricky Fowler and Phil Mickelson. It's a glorious day today, Mark. There are 15 players within 5 shots of the lead. The leaders will be teeing off at 7:35 your time. Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa at 15 under par. Sahith Theegala a shot behind. Shane Lowry and Bryson DeChambeau and Victor Hovland all at 13 under, 2 behind, and the leading Britons Justin Rose and Bob McIntyre, they're both at 12 under par. It really could be a cracker tonight.
Who's your money on?
I think Schauffele's going to do it, actually. I think he's going to bounce back from the defeat to McIlroy last week at Quail Hollow.
OK, thank you. It's going to be a fascinating final round with Ian and the team. Sports Extra from 8, 5 Live from 9. Back to Matt at the Rugby League.
Yeah, Huddersfield 10, Warrington 46. Huge applause for Sam Burgess as he walked down the touchline to greet his fans. At the end of this game, 8 tries to 2. Warrington will play Wigan at Wembley on June the 8th. Even if the semi-finals weren't competitive, that final should be an absolute banger. Warrington at Wembley.
England have completed a 3-0 T20 series win over Pakistan. They won by 34 runs at Headingley this afternoon. Some games already back underway in the Premier League. They're not at the Emirates, where it's 1-1 between Arsenal and Everton, and they're not at the Etihad, where the teams are coming out for the second half of Manchester City West Ham, with City 2-1 to the good. I'm guessing they'll probably coordinate these 2 halves starting at the same time. As things stand, City have a 4-point lead at the top of the table, but a couple of goals could change all that. Back to Leon Osman and John Murray.
Yes, it's all of a sudden quite intriguingly poised, and you're absolutely right, Mark. We've been told that it is going to be an 8 minutes past 5 kick-off time for both this match and the Arsenal-Everton game. Leon Osman sitting alongside me, former Everton and England midfielder. And I say it's fascinatingly poised as the players line up for the start of the second half, because 1 West Ham goal here and 1 Arsenal goal at the Emirates, and that means it would be Arsenal who would be on course to win the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting because I don't think Manchester City go out very often thinking about all we need to do is not concede a goal. You know, Manchester City are usually very positive in their endeavours and the way they go about the game, the way they attack things, but if they don't concede a goal here in the second half, they win the Premier League title, and maybe that's something that'll be different for them to experience today. West Ham can just push forward. West Ham can just go and attack this second half and see where it takes them.
Well, the second hand ticks to 8 minutes past 5. John Brooks has given the thumbs up, blows his whistle, and the second half begins with West Ham firing it forward, down and out of play into the Manchester City left back area. No changes at the break, so City still with Ortega in goal. Made one very good save, actually, just the one save, but then was beaten by the Kudus overhead kick that you do need to say on Match of the Day tonight. But with the second half's underway, already a goal at Luton, Chris Coles.
And we have carried on where we left off in the first half. Fulham have a third. Raul Jimenez has a second. Free kick from the near side, flicked in by Jimenez with his head in off the post. Luton 1, Fulham 3.
And a goal in the Sports Extra commentary match at Chelsea, John Southall.
And a second for Chelsea. Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 0. Raheem Sterling did really well, cut in from the left-hand side. His shot came off Neto, and in it went. Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 0.
Well, Newcastle needed Chelsea to lose. What's the latest at Brentford, Alistair Bruce Ball?
Well, Newcastle have conceded early in the second half, so Thomas Frank's words look to have had an impact for Brentford. Vitaly Janelt has scored with his left foot. Well taken goal. 3 minutes gone in the second half. Brentford 1, Newcastle 3.
So here at the Etihad, it is Manchester City 2, West Ham 1. World Service listeners join us from around the globe here on 5 Live, and we're immediately taking you back to Stamford Bridge, John Southall.
Because Bournemouth have won back. What a start to this second half. It's Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1. It's Enes Unal on the right of the penalty area. Took a big deflection into the top left corner. Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1.
As Manchester City win a free kick on the halfway line. City with Ortega in goal, Walker, Diaz, Akanji and Gvardiol, Rodri with Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden centrally, Bernardo Silva mainly on the right, Doku on the left and Haaland through the middle. Haaland's missed a couple of big chances. Areola's made a string of saves for West Ham when it was 1-0 and 2-0. So Areola in goal for West Ham. Mavropanos, Zuma and Cresswell, 3 central defenders. Tofal and Emerson, the wing backs. Souček and Ward-Prowse in the middle. Then Kudus, Paquetá and Antonio. And Manchester City attacking on the far side, from right to left in the sky blue shirts, white shorts, blue socks. And I do feel that nervousness. Leon Osman, before the game, there was that feeling of celebration, party songs really. And that continued all the way, almost all the way through the first half, until Kudus scored that goal, and then Arsenal got their equaliser.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, the momentum in football is absolutely huge, and City certainly had it before the game. The feeling from beating Spurs in the week continued into the pre-game celebrations, into the way Manchester City started the game, going 2-0 up, wonderful football. But at the moment, I wouldn't say it's flat as such, but it's certainly not as noisy as it had been in the first half.
I think what we'll see soon is Pep Guardiola trying to get the crowd to turn it on again. Here's Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side. De Bruyne just steps around Ward-Prowse and then plays the ball back in field towards Rodri. Now to the right-hand side to Kyle Walker. De Bruyne's over there as well. Hair swept back. The ball comes across to Gvardiol, 5-goal Gvardiol as he is currently. Then forward from Rodri. De Bruyne back to Rodri again. Imposing figure, right-footed pass out to the left-hand side. Doku who set up the second goal for Foden, but plays it back to Gvardiol, who is up against Paquetá, trying to find a position. Just got his ankles caught by Paquetá, but goes back towards the halfway line. So 2-1 to Manchester City here. City doing what they need to do. Remember, if you've just joined us, Manchester City, if they win, they will win the title. And Arsenal currently level up 1-1 with Everton. Ball played through by Rodri through the middle. Foden's found some space, plays it slightly behind Haaland. Haaland now quick feet into the penalty area, blocked away. De Bruyne tried to curl one low, but it bounced wide by probably 2 or 3 feet actually for a goal kick.
Well, West Ham look a lot better defensively with their setup in this second half. The spaces are smaller. City aren't finding it as easy to thread through passes into the spaces they want to, but just in that moment, that's when Phil Foden is at his best. He just took one on the back foot again, let it run across his body. He was able to turn and play it into Haaland, and suddenly West Ham's 4 midfielders and 2 strikers are completely out of the game. They're attacking the defensive structure, and City need to get the ball into Foden as much as possible.
Goal kick is taken by Areola downfield. Tofal plays it aerially infield. Rodri's heading it away. Now Gvardiol with Kudus, it loses out to Doku on the halfway line, and now Doku sets off on a run, but Mavropanos almost lies down in front of him, Leon, and blocks the progress of Doku.
Well, he slipped over and Doku cuts inside him. Doku hadn't realised that he'd slipped over, and Doku ran into his head, and he headed the ball off Doku's foot, and Mavropanos didn't know an awful lot about it.
Foden, 25 yards out, goes for the curler, but wide. Phil Foden puts his hands to his face. The opening goal, if you weren't listening in the first half, on his left foot, edge of the area. That was after 79 seconds. That ripped into the net, and then he scored a second in the 18th, and everything was so up about the Etihad Stadium. And then a series of chances as well, saves by Areola, but the overhead kick from Kudus to make it 2-1 just before half-time has changed the atmosphere. And even though you can probably hear in the background some of the City fans trying to get it going, it's nothing like it was in the first half when City were so good. Rodri though through to De Bruyne, 30 yards out, ball through for Foden, won't get there. Areola's able to slide out and get there quite comfortably. Kind of played it in between the runs of Haaland and Foden. So here's Kudus now breaks away from the halfway line, sky blue shirts around him, gives it out to Antonio on the right hand side. Eventually the support comes, but Guardiola's going to cut that out, which he does, and then he manages to shrug off the challenge from Antonio, and Manchester City have it back on the edge of their own penalty area. So still as it was at half time here in Manchester, 2-1 to the champions. What about the Emirates with you, Ian Dennis?
And it remains Arsenal 1, Everton 1. Havertz with a chance in the second half, across from the right, headed wide, still 1-1.
Manchester City cross the halfway line. Bernardo Silva now, and that bright warm sunshine in front of 53,544 people inside the Etihad Stadium. City still with it on the right hand side. Bernardo Silva weaves his way in field, then De Bruyne back to Walker on the right hand side. De Bruyne has a little look but plays it back behind him towards Rodri. Square from Gvardiol still 25 yards plus from goal, then square again, but it's a little static this from Manchester City. De Bruyne back to Rodri, then right footed right across the pitch to the left hand side. Doku is able to get it down. He's got Sofal and Kudus in front of him, takes on Sofal, who gets a foot in to put it out of play next to the corner flag. Back to Selhurst Park, Hamish Marshall.
Points are surely secured for Crystal Palace here. They lead Villa by 3-0. Abrici Eze with the third goal. He saw a gap 18 yards out, a low drive, it beat the keeper, all ends up Crystal Palace 3, Aston Villa 0.
And back to Kenilworth Road, Chris Coles.
This is great fun. Luton 2, Fulham 3. Alfie Doughty, free kick on the left into that corridor of uncertainty, didn't get a touch, ended up in the corner. Luton 2, Fulham 3.
There's always at least one match on the final Sunday of the Premier League that is high scoring. That could turn out to be it. Corner though to Manchester City. Foden to the edge of the 6-yard box. That's headed up and away for West Ham by Ward-Prowse, and then it's thumped away downfield. Headed back by Bernardo Silva, headed on by Akanji. Here's Haaland, middle of the half, tried to find the pass through. I think it struck the arm of Sofal, so does referee Brooks. It's a free kick to Manchester City, just to the left of the centre of the West Ham half, Leon Osman.
Yeah, but again, West Ham are making those spaces a lot smaller than they did in the first half. In the first half, the crowd was electric. Manchester City played on the edge of the West Ham penalty area, and whatever pass Manchester City were looking for, it seemed to be available, it seemed to be there. People were getting turned shots away. In this second half, it's become a much more typical Manchester City display that they're having to show real patience. The opposition have really dug in and making it difficult, but at the moment they are in control of this second half, Manchester City, albeit not finding those same opportunities at ease like they did in the first half.
No, not threatening in the way that they did for most of that first 45 minutes. Almost 3/4 of the pitch in shade as Foden plays this free kick in, but that is headed away by Souček. Comes back out to Manchester City. Bernardo Silva, square from him. Foden has a look up, left-footed ball out to the right-hand side. It's taken down at sort of thigh height by Doku, and then with a lovely shimmy, a twist of the hips from Doku. His pass back to Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, and then De Bruyne back towards Kyle Walker near the halfway line. Just a buzz around the pitch at the minute. The atmosphere inside the Etihad more like a cricket match than it is a team that is knocking on the door of regaining the title as Rodri plays a ball over the top, but that is overhit and bounces through for a goal kick, and that feeling of unease around the stadium just begins to grow a little more. Back to Brighton, Manchester United. Henry Moran.
Brighton 0, Manchester United 0. A special moment ago for Adam Lallana, leaving Brighton this week. He's just been substituted. Standing ovation and a bit of emotion from Lallana as well. Brighton 0, Manchester United 0.
So Tottenham still winning 1-0 at Sheffield United, so they'll be finishing in 5th, and Chelsea leading 2-1 will be finishing in 6th. Newcastle are going to have to wait to see if their win 3-1 up at Brentford is enough for a European place with the scores as they are. City win it back. De Bruyne, edge of the D, on his left foot. The shot was blocked as Paquetá just came across in front of him, blocked it out to the left-hand side. Doku, though, gets the ball and starts running at Sofal. Sofal got something on that, and then Doku swung a foot at it, made contact with the ball, and I think with Paquetá as well, who goes down holding his face. I'm not sure whether that was absolutely necessary to hold his face like that, or his neck as it is, but it's out of play for a throw-in to West Ham in their own right back position. And still it is quite finely poised between these two teams that have gone neck and neck over the course of the last few weeks. In fact, Arsenal going behind today, that's the first time either Arsenal or Manchester City have been behind in any Premier League match since Arsenal lost to Aston Villa on the 14th of April. But it's all square there now, and as I say, finely poised. A couple of goals for West Ham and for Arsenal would change everything. Here's Doku on the left-hand side into the penalty area. Doku pulls it back towards the penalty spot. Ward-Prowse controls and passes it away for West Ham. We're going to go to Anfield in a moment, but West Ham are on the attack with the danger man Kudus, who plays it back for the long pass from Paquetá through the middle. This is for Emerson to chase, but Kyle Walker is able to get there comfortably first ahead of him and play it back to goalkeeper Ortega. Back to Bramall Lane now and Charlie Slater,
where Tottenham lead by 2-0. Chance after chance. Eventually it fell to Pedro Porro, who thumped it into the back of the net. We've played an hour. Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 2, and they're heading for the Europa League.
We'll go to Anfield in a moment, but Manchester City with Rodri, middle of the half, turns to his right, gives it to Bernardo Silva. De Bruyne's there on the right side of the box, slips it across, but it was just cut out by Souček. Otherwise that would have been right into the path of Foden.
And what West Ham have started to do better in this second half is James Ward-Prowse and Thomas Souček are protecting that space in front of the defenders much better in this second half. When the wingers get into the wide areas, your De Bruyne's, your Doku, when they're pulling it back, suddenly West Ham have got bodies in the City had 3 shots from there in the first half. It's much more difficult, better from West Ham.
Manchester City throw on the right hand side. We'll go to Anfield in a moment, but Rodri 25 yards from the West Ham goal. Now the noise begins to increase in volume. Walker just outside of the penalty area, back to his left to Rodri. Gvardiol with that thick black beard of his goes full circle, then gives it to Rodri. Manchester City moving West Ham from side to side. Walker now to Bernardo Silva back to Rodri, little ball into the edge of the area. Foden then back to Gvardiol. They're really working West Ham here, Manchester City, with those little passes in the almost in the final third of the field, but they're forced to go back towards the halfway line as Walker picks out Bernardo Silva again. De Bruyne's made the run down to the byline in the West Ham left back area, comes back up the line towards Bernardo Silva. Now the captain, Walker, infield to Rodri. Rodri though finds claret and blue in front of him, back to Walker again. Walker out to the right hand side. Kevin De Bruyne is there in that bright sunshine. De Bruyne's little pass infield, Bernardo Silva, then Rodri with a shot, and Areola can't keep it out. Diving down to his left, it's Rodri who's got it. How often is he the man that steps up when Manchester City really need it? His shot finds a way through into the West Ham net, and Manchester City restore their 2-goal lead, 3-1.
Well, that was typical Manchester City that we've become so accustomed to seeing. West Ham feel like they're doing a good job, they're limiting Manchester City, but City don't mind. They just show patience, they just keep the ball, they move it backwards and forwards, they just show real quality in waiting for that small opportunity, that one lapse in concentration from the team they're up against. One player that may just drop a little bit too deep. Kevin De Bruyne out on that right hand side just finds a little pass. It's a tiny gap, into Bernardo Silva. He takes a touch, probably on line with the front post. Penalty spot distance out. He takes a touch and he just lays it to the edge of the penalty area for Rodri, who just passes it hard and low back through the gap it's come from into that front post area. Areola completely unsighted, does get a hand on it but not enough to keep it out, and it sent City players, the stadium, and more importantly in front of us, Pep Guardiola, absolutely crazy.
So maybe the moment of tension, the uncertainty, maybe it's gone now. Still half an hour to play. Let's go back to Ian Dennis at the Emirates. Any change in the atmosphere there as a result of that?
I think some of the Everton supporters might just be taunting their Arsenal counterparts over on the far side. They've travelled in great number, but Arsenal are still focusing on this job in hand. But 1-1 it remains, and we've been playing for just over an hour.
So Rodri's goal, that's 9 he scored for City this season. And I did wonder, Leon, whether it had taken a flick, whether there was a little deflection. But as you said, I think Areola just saw it late, diving down to his left, so he did get a hand to it. He as a top-class goalkeeper, he'll think I should have kept that out. But I mean, he has contributed so much to this West Ham performance.
Yeah, I mean, goalkeepers are disappointed if they get a hand on it, but it came through bodies. Rodri was clever in the fact he just passed it back where it come from. Bernardo Silva gets out the way of it. Suddenly it's going through legs, it's going through bodies. Keeper can't see it until very, very late. But I was having a conversation earlier in the day about some of the reasons why Manchester City are looking like they're going on to win Premier League title. Phil Foden, of course, his form's been outstanding, especially in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne. Some of the goals Rodri has scored at crucial moments. This is the guy that protects the defence, and yeah, he's had such an influence on their goal scoring and their attack this season, and he's done it again.
Yeah, now the mood, as you can hear, is significantly different as Manchester City. De Bruyne forces another corner, this time from the right hand side, and he just raises his fist there and says to the City fans, come on, make your noise now. The corner to come, but first Hamish Marshall at Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace 4, Aston Villa 0. Jean-Philippe Mateta with a hat-trick. Dean Henderson's quick throw. Izzy set up Mateta. Cool finish. Palace 4, Villa 0.
What a finish to the end of the season under Oliver Glasner, now that all of those attacking players are back. A corner to Manchester City. Foden to take this, left-footed into the near post. That's headed away by Cresswell for West Ham, headed back over the top by Rodri. West Ham don't clear it. Foden with a shot from the angle, but it's straight at Areola. He's able to grasp it into his midriff, and then as he tries to sling it out, Erling Haaland lifts a leg right up in front of his chest and stops him from doing that. Bramall Lane, Charlie Slater.
65 on the clock, Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 3. Lovely ball from Son down the left. Now Maddison, his cross turned in by Kulusevski. Second of the afternoon for him, and Tottenham are as good as home for the Europa League. 3-0 they lead.
Yeah, I think we can begin to write their name into the group stage of the also extended Europa League next season. Even more European football than ever before that will bring you next season, when once again the Premier League will be on 5 Live and the World Service. The 3 o'clock commentaries on a Saturday afternoon, 5:30 commentaries, and then next season again, as this season, at least 2 every Sunday at 2 o'clock, and then at this time on a Sunday afternoon. So join us for that, when it looks as though Manchester City will be defending their title again. With this scoreline they are. A win is good enough, and that's what Manchester City are doing. 2 goals from Foden, with City halfway inside their own half in possession, and then Rodri. And as you say, Leon, I think very fitting that Rodri, this man who's on the ball now, should have contributed in this way, because he's absolutely pivotal. And his pass now to Bernardo Silva, and then De Bruyne on the overlap, and his ball in is cleared away by a falling Souček, and again Foden and Haaland were there behind him inside the penalty area. Bernardo Silva, somehow Manchester City are able to recapture possession again on that right hand side. Foden turns it back out to Bernardo Silva. You know, there was tension, there was uncertainty, and that Rodri goal has absolutely released the shackles, has it not?
Yeah, but not just the fans, but also the players as well. There was a little bit of tension in the way that they were attacking. They would make sure they were attacking, but they weren't leaving themselves exposed. Now they're just out there enjoying themselves in the same manner they were in the first half.
Yeah, I think there might be tears of of joy once again for Manchester City, and I suspect the waterworks will be on at Anfield later as well. With you, Maz Faruqi.
Well, Liverpool thought they'd had a third and another really good chance for Luis Diaz, but this previous one bounced down just off the crossbar onto the wrong side of the goal line from a home fan's perspective, in front of the Kop as well. So there's still Liverpool 2, 10-man Wolves 0.
Manchester City leading now comfortably again by 3-1. And Rodri, it's going to be, with this scoreline, it would be 49 Premier League matches in which Rodri has played since he was last on the losing side. Doku attacking down the left wing. Doku still going. West Ham have 2 men now up against him, so he turns and gives it back to De Bruyne. What a pass that is to Foden. Foden works it back across. Haaland's shot, that's blocked on the edge of the 6-yard box. Ward-Prowse and Zuma were together, and the ball spins away out of play for a corner, and it's back to Kenilworth Road and Chris Coles.
You called it, John. This is turning into the traditional end of season goal fest. A fourth for Fulham, beautifully guided into the top corner by Harry Wilson on the edge of the Luton box. Luton 2, Fulham 4.
And that might well not be the end of it, and it might not be the end of it for Manchester City either. Kevin De Bruyne, they're singing his song in front of us. They all rise to their feet. A whole legion of sky blue replica shirts in front of us, standing on their feet, many with their phones, recording this. De Bruyne taking it in, and it's flicked on, and Haaland couldn't get a touch at the back post. It was deflected past him, actually, and behind for a corner from the other side. And before that's taken, here's Hamish Marshall at Selhurst Park again.
Jean-Philippe Mateta thought he got his 4th of the afternoon and Palace's 5th. It was disallowed by the referee after he was on the end of a long ball for offside. After an interminable VAR check, the referee's decision was upheld, so it remains Palace 4, Villa 0.
Inside the Etihad Stadium here, Foden's gone across there to collect the ball from next to the hoardings. The City fans behind the goal to our right, next to the West Ham fans, have decided now is the time, with just over a quarter of the match to go, to start the Poznan, which is spreading. Foden takes this in underneath the crossbar. Areola's able to jump up against Diaz and push it over the crossbar for a 3rd consecutive corner. And before they come across to take this, it's to Alistair Bruce Ball at Brentford.
The home fans have livened up at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Johan Wisser's curled in a beauty from outside the box, and Newcastle rocking a little, still assured a 7th spot. They're now only leading 3-2.
However, at Brighton Manchester United, Henry Moran,
well, they've not been good today, but Manchester United do have the lead. Diogo Dalot played through a goal. Cool, low finish beyond the reach of steel. Brighton 0, Manchester United 1.
De Bruyne with this latest Manchester City corner swings it again underneath the crossbar. Areola's able to get a hand to that, to claw it away. It might have come off defender Souček as well, and it's going to be a 4th consecutive Manchester City corner. I think there's been a goal elsewhere. While Phil Foden wanders out there, we will have time to hear again from Hamish Marshall.
We didn't have long to wait for Crystal Palace's 5th. Iberici Eze from the edge of the penalty area. A good finish. Palace fans loving this. Palace 5, Aston Villa 0.
Going to go back to the Nottingham Forest match as well in a moment, but I'm beginning to lose count. I think this is a 4th consecutive Manchester City corner. Foden into the near post, that's headed away by Zuma, nodded back in by De Bruyne, headed on by Diaz. Haaland chests it down, Akanji's in, flick from him, Haaland shot, that's blocked, then a shot from the far side of the penalty area. Foden is saying that was blocked by an outstretched hand. Foden is saying that has to be a penalty. He's gone a pleading to the referee, but John Brooks is just for the time being saying corner again.
Well, West Ham are trying to keep the ball out of the back of the goal, but they're under severe pressure at the moment. Manchester City just keeping the ball alive. West Ham think they've cleared a corner. No, West Ham put it back in. Lots of ricochets. Akanji's the one who hits the shot. I think Creswell's got his elbows tucked in. His hand is slightly away from his body, but not a penalty for me. He's tried his best to keep his arms in. He was only a yard, maybe 2 yards away from Akanji as he hit the shot on the turn. So I wouldn't be expecting a penalty kick here, but you never know.
VAR are looking, so we won't have the restart just yet. So let's head to Burnley this time, to Turf Moor and Sani Radravajala.
Well, the home fans are being given something to cheer. Josh Cullen in acres of space, getting to the edge of the area. His shot's deflecting, giving Burnley a goal back in this game. It's Burnley 1, Nottingham Forest 2.
Foden's corner again, right under the crossbar. Areola must have been close to actually catching it and falling over the line, but he's managed to keep it out. Certainly the buzzer has not gone off the referee's watch, and he was able to grab it and get both hands around it. And after that series, I think it was 5 corners in a row that Manchester City had there, they've survived, and it remains still 3-1 to Manchester City. Good to see a substitution apiece. And while they do that, here, let's get another update from Ian Dennis at the Emirates.
20 minutes remaining. Everton still holding Arsenal. 1-1 here at the Emirates. Havertz with a header has hit the post. Mikel Arteta has made a couple of changes, including Jurrien Timber, who's come back after injury. His first appearance after an ACL injury back in August, but 1-1.
Yes, could be an important player for Arsenal next season, when it looks as though Arsenal will be trying to go one better than the runners-up spot that they are currently finishing in. David Moyes has made his first change, so Edson Alvarez is on for Aaron Cresswell, and Manchester City have brought on another one of their quietly most important players, Nathan Ake, who's in the Dutch squad, of course, for the Euros. Nathan Ake coming on for Akanji at the back. Still no John Stones, by the way, Leon. John Stones, unused substitute again so far today. Not appeared in 30 matches for Manchester City this season.
Yeah, I mean, he was very much a big part of the early season for Manchester City. Unfortunately, picked up an injury when he did, and I think what Pep likes to do, he likes to give his players a real run at it, those that are up to speed, especially when they come down to this part of the season, the run-in, when he wants everybody to be at full speed. So it's been very difficult to get John Stones his game time, which is not a real concern to Pep Guardiola or Manchester City, but I suppose it is to Gareth Southgate as we look forward to a big tournament in the summer.
Yes, we do. That squad announced Tuesday afternoon. We'll have the announcement on 5 Live Tuesday afternoon. Don't miss that. City 3-1 up against West Ham with the ball at the back. Lines will be open for 6:06 once we have an hour of reaction. So we'll hear from Jurgen Klopp in that time when he speaks to the Liverpool fans inside Anfield. We will have the trophy presentation. Currently it would be happening here inside the Etihad Stadium. You'll be able to read about it all on the football pages of the BBC Sport website. Match of the day tonight is on BBC One, anytime on the iPlayer, and all of the analysis as well on the Football Daily podcast from BBC Sounds in the morning. Here's Doku on the left-hand side, wriggles away from Kudus. It bounces off Alvarez, who might well have fouled Foden. He has, says referee Brooks, and that's a free kick in just the kind of area that Kevin De Bruyne likes it. And the Mexican Alvarez comes across to Phil Foden and tries to haul him to his feet, but Foden's not having any of that. He wasn't very happy with that challenge, actually. Free kick for City.
I think he just needed a moment. I mean, Alvarez, it was just a poor touch. He should have took the ball away. It wasn't a great pass from Doku inside to Foden. Alvarez, poor touch, just allowed Foden to step across him. Alvarez brings him down, and you're right, Foden just wanted a moment, and Alvarez was trying to drag him up quickly. Don't quite understand why, but Foden well within his rights just to take a moment and compose himself there.
So free kick to Manchester City. Seen De Bruyne over the ball roundabout here so many times inside this stadium. Sometimes he goes for goal, sometimes he just drops it in there. West Ham have got a man lying down behind the wall. Foden standing to the right of the ball. The two of them are in discussions together. De Bruyne steps away to his left. It's actually Foden to take it round the wall, but Areola just let it go, knowing that it was going wide of the post, even though it flicked the side netting on the way past. But he puts his, once again, for the umpteenth time today, he puts his hands up on his face. Phil Foden, two goals, but so hungry.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a hat-trick. I mean, this would be a wonderful moment to score a hat-trick in the game that is going to lift you the Premier League title. He never really gave himself a chance with that free kick. Goalkeeper sets his wall up well.
As so foul dispossessed by Doku, but then Souček slides in, is able to clear it away up towards Kudus. Kudus running it to the halfway line. Pep Guardiola watching as Kudus goes round Rodri and Guardiola twice. De Bruyne then gets involved, plays it back towards the halfway line. What a piece of skill that was.
Honestly, unless you've watched him on a regular basis, I don't think you'll appreciate how good a player Kudus is, how he can run with the ball, his skill, his ability. And without being disrespectful to West Ham, they're going to have a job on their hands keeping a player of his quality long term.
Yep. Julian Lopetegui is watching this, and I know he's not been confirmed yet, but I'm sure that will come in the coming days. He'll be thinking something similar. Don't want Kudus being sold by West Ham United, as De Bruyne takes it down and gives it to Bernardo Silva under pressure. Haaland's on the run. Bernardo Silva takes it on. In slides Alvarez and takes him down, and that's a yellow card forward of the centre circle. And Bernardo Silva was just at the moment of releasing that, and Alvarez just took him out. So it's a free kick to Manchester City. Back to Sheffield United and Charlie Slater.
Well, we've played 78 minutes, but we've got a lengthy VAR check here. Andre Brooks was initially shown a red card for a tussle with Son Heung-min. He might have digged him in the ribs, he might have stamped on his foot, but the referee, Andy Madley, has been sent over to the far side to look at the screen for a better look at this. So as it stands, Sheffield United down to 10, losing by 3-0. But come back to me.
Yeah, we'll be back with you presently. We're going to Brentford in a moment, but Manchester City with De Bruyne on the right hand side, but he takes it back out into the full back position. So to Brentford, Newcastle were 3-0 up, Alistair Bruce Ball.
Yes, then Brentford pegged them back to 3-2, a little more comfortable for Newcastle. Now they've got a fourth. They thought they had a penalty. Lewis Hall was tripped. VAR then changed that decision. It was just outside the box. Isak's free kick deflected off the wall and stuck home by Bruno Guimaraes. Brentford 2, Newcastle 4.
So in those European positions below the Champions League places, the numbers 5, 6, 7 and 8 in the table are all winning. So Tottenham winning, Chelsea winning, Newcastle winning, Manchester United winning. So it is as you were at the start of the day. Manchester City with the ball on the halfway line, and then Bernardo Silva infield towards De Bruyne. We'll go back to Bramall Lane just in a moment, but Manchester City on the attack, leading by 3-1, on course for the title, and City just slow it down again. So come back in again, Charlie.
The red card was rescinded. The referee Andy Madley went across, had a look and said that Andre Brooks had not committed violent conduct, and so he stays on the pitch, and it remains Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 3.
And Manchester City are back on the move again, looking for the fourth goal that would absolutely finish it. 3-1 at 3-1. I suspect that's the case now, but they're just waiting again for that opening, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, with a 2-goal cushion, they're in absolutely no rush. There's no need to go in search of another goal. They just wait and move the ball, keep hold of it, not let West Ham get it, because, you know, we've seen what Kudus can do. But they'll just draw West Ham out and just show real patience. And if West Ham lose concentration defensively in a moment, if something opens up, Manchester City will speed up the tempo of the play and create another opportunity. But they're in control at the moment.
Yeah, just keeping the ball. They've gone back into their own half, although a misplaced pass by Rodri, but Phil Foden's there to win it back, and Foden plays it back into the back line. With this scoreline, Manchester City are going to finish the season with 9 league wins in a row. Here's Doku on the left hand side, goes back towards the left back. Guardiola behind him. He's really settled in, Guardiola, hasn't he, as the season has gone on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he slotted into this City team straight away. I think there was talk, is he one that's going to be a slow burner until next season? Is he a player that needs to play as a left centre-back rather than a left-back or a centre-half? But just given his time, playing with these wonderful players, the intelligence he has as a footballer, it didn't take him long.
Here's Bernardo Silva now, speeding into the penalty area, shooting left-footed, but rather wastefully. That was a wild one from Bernardo Silva. He had options in the middle, but it flew away beyond the far post and behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, and you know, we wonder whether this may be the last time these Manchester City fans see Bernardo Silva here at the Etihad. So it's no surprise to see him hungry for a goal to try and get on the score sheet, because he did have options there, easier options that I've seen him time and time again. He would have played those passes, but he went for goal from pretty difficult position.
Yeah, for those who weren't listening earlier, at the start of the match, the Manchester City fans had a special Bernardo Silva flag that they were waving in the stands before the game. I mean, we've had this, it feels like almost every summer, haven't we, with Bernardo Silva, about whether he'll stay on. But he did sign a new contract at the start of this season, but he would leave a real Bernardo Silva shaped hole, wouldn't he, even in this Manchester City squad.
Yeah, because he's one of, I mean, they're blessed with incredible players, Manchester City, but him more than most has a real appreciation for the tempo of the game and what's needed, when to slow the game down, when to speed it up, when to draw players over to a certain area of the field. And that kind of thing can be priceless for a manager and for a team.
It wouldn't be a big hole physically, but metaphorically it would. Here's Rodri, who goes back towards the halfway line, and Walker is just able to get it down. And Manchester City have got them where they want them, with 10 minutes to go, 10 minutes away, plus added time from retaining the title again. De Bruyne through now into the penalty area to Haaland, who knew he was offside. So even though he trotted the ball out of the penalty area in his pink boots, he knew that he was going to be pulled up. And West Ham are going to make a change, and it's George Earthy who's going to come on for another taste of the big time for the number 40, the 19-year-old, the young hammer of the year for West Ham this season. There were great scenes when he scored his first goal for West Ham last weekend, with his first touch as well, after coming on as a substitute against Luton. And here he is playing at the home of the champions, replacing Mikel Antonio. We'll get a word from Leon Osman on the arrival of young George Earthy in a minute. But back to North London and Ian Dennis,
where there are about 9 minutes remaining, John. It's still Arsenal 1, Everton 1, and Arsenal are coming up against a very resolute Everton side. Ødegaard and Smith Rowe have had shots blocked as Arsenal look for the win, just to focus and try to finish the season as runners-up on a high.
And Manchester City, I think everyone here is beginning to just get their thoughts towards how they're going to celebrate this inside the Etihad Stadium. But George Earthy herring around out there, Leon, like a 19-year-old. He's chasing everyone in a sky blue shirt, having just come onto the field.
He's had quite an introduction early in his Premier League career.
Yeah, just his fourth appearance today. And here's Doku now, quickly into the area on the left-hand side, and shoots via a deflection, which carried it wide, and it went sailing past the post and behind to yet another Manchester City corner.
Again, three players having to stop Doku there before forcing a corner kick.
Back to Brighton, Henry Moran.
The second goal for Manchester United, Brighton 0, United 2. Rasmus Højlund working the space onto his right foot, low finish, excellent goal. Brighton 0, Manchester United 2.
Yes, Rasmus Højlund, he might well be up against England, all being well. You would have thought he'd be in the team for Denmark in the group at the Euros. Kevin De Bruyne to take this corner from the left-hand side. Manchester United tuning up for the FA Cup, the second consecutive All-Manchester final next Saturday. De Bruyne takes this in, and it's punched away again by Areola under great pressure. He had players all round him. Brilliant skill from Doku, beats Tofal and then slips over inside the penalty area. He still had two West Ham men in front of him, however, and West Ham were able to scramble it away, but he left Tofal on his backside, a little bit like Pep Guardiola at Tottenham the other night.
Yeah, well, he did something outstanding and followed it up with something embarrassing. It was very unique bit of play.
That's wingers for you, Leon. De Bruyne now down the left-hand side. I hope Pat Nevin's not listening. De Bruyne takes it on. He's brought down. That's a free kick to Manchester City in the West Ham right back area. So if you just switched on, if you've been out and about, if it's lovely and sunny where you are today, and you're thinking, is there any doubt? Is there any jeopardy? I'm not sure there is much, because Arsenal had to win. They're currently level at 1-1. And Manchester City knew that if they win, which they are doing, and they've got a 2-goal cushion, they will retain the title. So we had a little spell just before half-time and into the second half. But once Rodri drove in that goal to make it 3-1, things changed rather. And De Bruyne is now going to take this free kick from the left-hand side. Manchester City fan in a Vincent Kompany shirt just takes a seat down to my left. De Bruyne, right-footed, curls this in, glanced by Haaland beyond the far post, and it's a goal kick.
It's just not been his day, hasn't it? And we've not said that an awful lot in his Manchester City career. Maybe once or twice this season he has had frustrating afternoons, but he's unfortunate with that one. He gets across the defender, he tries to flick it to the far post, doesn't quite make contact, comes off his shoulder really before going past the far post. He's had a couple of efforts that he should have scored. He's had a couple of efforts that have been brilliant blocks. At the moment he's finding it very difficult to get on the score sheet, and he wants to. You can see it with his runs and his attitude. He won't be happy unless he gets on the score sheet here today.
5 Live in the World Service from the BBC. Nevertheless, Leon, 38 goals this season, 27 in the Premier League, so he's going to win the Golden Boot for top scorer for the second season in a row. Maybe not the heights of last season, as De Bruyne is released by Rodri, and De Bruyne now has Bernardo Silva to the right. Bernardo Silva then back towards Kyle Walker, and Walker carefully with his left foot just passes it 10 yards or so back to Bernardo Silva. Comes back to Rodri centrally, who just drags his foot over the ball and plays it back to the halfway line. So 9th goal of the season for Rodri today, and this will be Doku now bursting away from Sofal into the penalty area, takes on to Souček, and then the ball across is cut out by a diving, desperately, West Ham captain Zuma. Suddenly City are looking to step it up, but a foul by Doku on Souček, and it's a free kick to West Ham in their own right back area. Going to make another change. Danny Ings is going to come on. This might be his last appearance for West Ham as well. The 31-year-old Danny Ings, we'll see, and it's Paquetá who's going to come off the field for West Ham. Excellent talent, Paquetá, but really West Ham haven't had enough of the ball in the advanced areas to see him at his best today.
No, of course not. And whether they've had the weaponry as well. He needed to maybe be played the ball quickly, which then gives him opportunity to play forward to Antonio or Kudus as they're making runs. But as you said, he's had to work so hard defensively, which he has. He's been part of how hard West Ham have worked, because they've certainly not come here and not committed to this game. No one can accuse them of that.
Danny Ings gets away down the right-hand side. First involvement in the game. Kudus is there as well. He knocked it back to Sofal, who goes back to the halfway line. David Moyes now into his final minutes as the West Ham United manager. Final minutes during a match as Souček receives the ball near the centre circle, then to Sofal, and then it is in the central area, Alvarez, who gives it out now via Earthy to Kudus. Kudus into the penalty area, drives it across via a deflection, which takes it behind for a West Ham corner.
Yeah, Nathan Ake just getting in the right position, arms behind his back to make sure the ball didn't in any way hit his arm or his hands, and it hits his midriff in the end. But again, Kudus backing defenders up, putting Guardiola on the floor, getting on Ake. Brilliant talent. And great to watch.
Now we reach that point where, with the scoreline 3-1, you do think, what would happen if West Ham scored here? Corner, Ward-Prowse, deep one to the back post, which has headed down and deflected in. Souček runs away. The referee is being chased by 2 Manchester City players. It looks like West Ham have got a second goal. Both Ake and Rodri are running after referee Brooks. They feel that there's been an infringement there, but it could well be Manchester City 3, West Ham 2.
I think they're after handball again, and Manchester City's frustration is boiling over. Just about to see it. Yeah, that'll be disallowed. I think there was a slight infringement coming together initially.
There's no question.
But once the ball is headed, I'm not quite sure who wins the first one. I think it's Mavropanos. Souček is running in behind it, and it just hits his arm and goes into the back of the goal. I'm not sure why he's celebrating that. In the modern day of VAR, he knows, we can all see that, we will all know that goal will be disallowed.
Yes, I don't know who Souček thought he was kidding there. I mean, he had to know. Surely that must be a yellow card for Souček as well, for putting the ball into the net in the way that he did. I think Pep Guardiola is asking the same question down on the side of the pitch here. So Arsenal fans at the Emirates thinking there might be a tiny little glimmer. That's just been snuffed out by VAR, and the score remains Manchester City 3, West Ham 1, and we are now into the final couple of minutes of the 90. So 90 seconds or thereabouts of the 90 minutes to play, then added time, then Manchester City will be confirmed as champions after that goal was ruled out, unless West Ham can do something extraordinary. And actually, at Arsenal, Ian Dennis,
they've just taken the lead by 2-1. They still actually don't realise that goal has been ruled out. As you know, we sit quite close to them. They've been asking us all afternoon, what's the latest score? What's the latest score? It was Ødegaard who burst his way in towards the penalty area, initially blocked it, came out towards Havertz, who's knocked it in from close range. So with just over 60 seconds remaining, Arsenal are leading by 2-1. Havertz inside the 6-yard box.
Yeah, and now I think everyone here as well is aware that Arsenal are winning, so they know that their team, Manchester City, have got to see this out. So with the scorelines as they are, Arsenal winning, what Arsenal need are a couple of quick-fire West Ham goals without reply, because if Arsenal win and this is a draw, then Arsenal would win the title on goal difference. The big but there is that they need 2 West Ham goals. Back to Anfield, Maz Farouki.
And it's still Liverpool 2, 10-man Wolves 0. This game, in truth, losing some intensity in the second half with nothing to play for. But 4 minutes has just gone up on the board. We're into stoppage time at the end of this match. So the last 3.5 minutes of Jurgen Klopp's reign in English football.
And now Phil Foden, just feeling his back, is going to leave the field. He has substituted. Kovacic comes on. But what a season for Manchester City. He's still got the FA Cup final to come. 2 goals today to reach 27 for the season for, so far, the Football Writers Footballer of the Year and the Premier League Player of the Season. What a season, Leon.
Outstanding. I mean, we've all talked for years about this talent that he is, and you know, the pathway that maybe he should have took. People thought he should go on loan, and people thought he needed to do certain things during his career. Well, he certainly did not. He needed to just play with these players, trust in Pep Guardiola, and allow himself to develop into the best player in the Premier League at the moment. He's shown that over the course of the season. What an incredible talent, a player that scores big goals and big moments as well. He keeps the team ticking along with his immense talent. Wonderful player.
That's Leon Osman. This is 5 Live in the World Service from the BBC. Manchester City leading West Ham by 3-1. So the top 2 now are both winning, and Arsenal need West Ham to go for this and try and score 2 goals right at the end of David Moyes' tenure as their manager. They've got the ball, Souček, and we've got 4 minutes of added time to play. Long pass for him, looking for Danny Ings. That's headed away by Diaz on the edge of the area. Bernardo Silva just volleys it up into the air. It's headed back into the Manchester City half. Back to Anfield, Maz Farouki.
The emotions are coming to the surface now for Jurgen Klopp. He's wiped away a tear as he sits in the Liverpool dugout for the final time. His head is bowed. All 4 sides of Anfield standing, cheering, applauding him now. And we've got 1 minute and 30 seconds left to play in this match.
Yeah, when I was at Anfield a couple of weeks ago, Jurgen Klopp after the match said there are 500 reasons I'm not looking forward to the final day. But he will speak post-match, and you will hear it if you stay with us throughout the course of the next hour or so. As Ake plays the ball forward, it comes back from the halfway line and is at the feet of Ortega. And there is a little flurry of applause. These Manchester City fans inside this stadium and in Manchester City, you know, many of them will have been through the whole story with City, not just the Sheikh Mansour years. You know, they've experienced it, and those nerves, that anxiety for all of the winning that they've done, I don't think that'll ever go away, and they will never be comfortable until the job is finally done and the final whistle goes. But it's not far away now, and it's down in the West Ham right back area, and Tofal, after Mavropanos wins it from Haaland, across the box to Areola, who made countless saves here. Back into the 6-yard box to Areola, who just chips it away. And to Kenilworth Road, Chris Coles.
Luton's relegation confirmed. They've been beaten by Fulham by 4-2. 2 for Jimenez, Traore volley, and a fine Wilson finish did the damage for Fulham. Luton down, losing 4-2 to Fulham.
It looks like Tottenham are finishing 5th, Chelsea in 6th, Newcastle 7th, Manchester United 8th. They're all winning. West Ham coming forward. They need to score twice without reply. And we are now in the 4th minute of added time. 5 minutes have been added on. Manchester City are nearly there. Ball crossed from the left-hand side. And it's deflected out of play for a throw-in that is taken back towards the left-hand side. And what have you spotted, Leon?
A huge embrace. David Moyes and Pep Guardiola in front of us, coming together, just sort of speaking probably about their achievements, their careers, and a lot of warmth in front of us.
Oh, that's lovely. He put his arm around him, David Moyes. He knows what's going to happen when the final whistle goes, and there is a final shake of the hands there as well between the two of them before David Moyes moves away to his right. We've not seen the finish of him, I'm absolutely certain. This is his 1150th match as a manager, and Nottingham Forest have won at Burnley by 2-1. Their safety in the Premier League is confirmed today, rubber stamped today. But now we have 30 seconds to play. Manchester United have won 2-0 at Brighton, but the teams immediately above them have also won. Fourth place Aston Villa have lost 5-0 at Crystal Palace. Long ball forward for Manchester City.
There's a group of fans trying to get on the pitch already. The stewards are having trouble.
Some supporters in the end to our right, they're getting over the hoardings and actually walking towards the edge of the pitch, and some people have actually come onto the playing surface, and the match is not over yet. And the Manchester City players are actually going over there. Bernardo Silva is actually running over towards them. Gvardiol, Kyle Walker as well as the Manchester City captain is going across, and they are saying to these Manchester City supporters, get back over the hoardings. Get over the hoardings. And the rest of the City fans, you can hear the reaction. They're saying you have to go back over the hoardings. And I guess referee Brooks is not going to restart play here. Now Haaland has gone across. And we have 3, 4, 5, 6 Manchester City players down in that corner who are saying you have to obey the stewards in that corner. Well, they've not all gone back. They've not all gone back into the stands, but the players are coming away now, and I think referee Brooks might as well. It depends how much he's adding on now. We're beyond the 5 minutes of added time, and more people are just now beginning to try and get over those hoardings. But there it is, and we see a pitch invasion now. The Manchester City supporters pouring onto the pitch. The Manchester City players run for cover, punching the air. I see Ruben Diaz, Rodri, as they arrive through the cordon of police officers on the side of the pitch here. Supporters now flooding onto the field, but the Manchester City players have reached the comparative safety now, and the celebrations can begin. They've beaten West Ham by 3-1, and they've done it. They've retained their title. What a finish. What a second half of the season for them, to finish now here today with a 9th consecutive Premier League win, and that means they are champions again. But not only that, they've won it 4 years running, and no one's done that ever before since this league started in 1888. That's the measure of this history, this achievement that they have managed to put together this season. And Pep Guardiola there, just trying to spot him down in amongst it all. I see his right-hand man, Manel. It's difficult to actually pick him out down there. I'm presuming that he is in amongst that throng of Manchester City coaches and players who are celebrating right in front of the seats. Ortega, the goalkeeper who came in after Ederson's unfortunate injury on Tuesday night, raises his arms. He was beaten by that brilliant Kudus overhead kick in the first half. But really, Leon, it was their performance in the first 20 minutes when they went at West Ham like a storm, and Foden scored those 2 goals. That was the platform for this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a wonderful, especially first half performance, but even in the second half, it was a very well controlled second half performance. They know exactly what they're capable of. They know exactly what they can do. And this is an incredible achievement. Make no mistake about that. I mean, Manchester City are now talking about winning everything in a season. That's where they've got to. That's how good a football team this is. That's how good a manager Pep Guardiola is. They want to win it all. They didn't win the Champions League this year. They got knocked out. But the 4th and record-breaking way of winning a 4th title in a row should certainly be looked at in the way it is. It's a wonderful achievement, never been done before by an incredible set of football players.
Yeah, I think Pep Guardiola has disappeared down the tunnel. I think he's going to enjoy his moment when they actually clear the pitch here, when we will see the trophy presented again to Manchester City. But at the moment we can hardly see a blade of grass out there in the sunshine. There are blue smoke bombs going off in amongst the throng down there, but almost the whole of the pitch surface is absolutely covered. There is one sign down there that reads "The Four Tops Blue Moon" for these 4 consecutive titles that Manchester City have won. More flags as well being raised, and of course too plenty of inflatable yellow bananas out there, which harks back to the days before of all of the wealth and all of the questions about Manchester City's money. That's the thing here for many of these Manchester City supporters. They go way back, and they could never have dreamt of scenes like this and achievements like this.
Well, I'm quite fortunate to have sort of lived the journey with Manchester City. My closest friends from high school was a very, very passionate, or is a very passionate Manchester City fan when they were in the lower leagues, and the pain that I've seen at first hand Manchester City fans go through, and the journey going back to winning with that that important Paul Dickoff goal back in, I think it was at 1999 to propel them on this journey that they're still on at the moment. Make no mistake about it, they are still on a journey. They're at the opposite end of the scale with regards to happiness and joy, but it's still a journey for these Manchester City fans that I think they're ready. They can't quite appreciate it. I think they always expect it to stop at any moment, and that's why they seem to enjoy it so much, and you can appreciate that.
Yep, so the Manchester City players and Pep Guardiola and his coaches, they've disappeared down the tunnel, Mark. We've still got a square of police officers in yellow jackets with their caps on around that area, the technical area. Then we've got an arc of stewards as well to make sure none of the supporters can get through that. And now we hear the bing bongs on the public address system as they appeal to the Manchester City supporters who did invade the pitch to leave the way clear for everything to be set up for the presentation of the Premier League trophy to Kyle Walker and his teammates. 3-1 they won on the day, and they've won the Premier League again.
Just give us an appreciation, Leon, as a former player, for what these players and some of them who've been there for all 4 of these titles, to have delivered that consistency, and also, as we were talking about pre-match, to do it in many ways where they've kind of taken the jeopardy out of it so many times. I know a couple of years ago there were 2 down at home to Villa, but they have such an aura about them that you just never doubt that they're going to do it.
No, and first of all, that's testament to Pep Guardiola and the club for putting the players together. But when you put players of this quality together, they have a real belief in each other that they can perform for each other. They won't let each other down. I never reached the heights that these players have had. We got to cup semi-finals and cup finals in a stretch, and even that was difficult to go and repeat it. The expectation that is on your shoulders from the fans. You've done it last season. You've got so close last season. You've achieved so much last season. We're expecting it now, and the expectation is what's difficult, to go and do it again. And this team, it's as if they don't understand expectation. It's as if their own expectation maybe is more important to them. They just keep on delivering, and it's so difficult to deliver. They deliver in domestic competitions. They deliver. I mean, they won 4 League Cups in a run. They've won the FA Cup. They want to go and repeat Champions League football. They keep on competing at the very highest level. And I can't speak highly enough of how difficult that is for any set of players, regardless of how good they are.
They're trying to clear the pitch then at the Etihad. We'll be there for the trophy presentation. We will get plenty of reaction from there as well. We'll get plenty of reaction from all the games this evening. We're off air at 7 o'clock, and then it is 6:06. But just to give you all the results in the Premier League this evening: Arsenal 2, Everton 1, Brentford 2, Newcastle 4, Brighton 0, Manchester United 2, Burnley 1, Nottingham Forest 2, Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1, Palace 5, Villa 0, Liverpool 2, Wolves 0, Luton 2, Fulham 4. Obviously at the Etihad, Manchester City 3, West Ham 1, and Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 3. So your final Premier League table: Manchester City finished with 91, Arsenal have 89, Liverpool have 82, Villa have the final Champions League spot, they end with 68. Tottenham are in the Europa League, they have 66. Chelsea also qualify for Europe, They have 63. Newcastle have 60. Manchester United finish 8th with 60. West Ham are 9th with 52. Palace end in the top half. What a job from Oliver Glasner, and they finish with 49 points. Brighton are 11th with 48. Bournemouth also have 48 in 12th. Fulham have 47 in 13th. Wolves are 14th with 46. Everton finish 15th with 40. Brentford with 39 are 16th. Forest have 32 and finish 17th. And then the three going down are the three that came up. Luton with 26, Burnley with 24, and Sheffield United with 16. The celebrating Manchester City fans on the pitch at the Etihad contrast with a crestfallen Arsenal squad on the pitch at the Emirates. Ian Dennis.
Yes, to the backdrop of Sweet Caroline, the Arsenal players are just gathered inside the centre circle. Some of them are sat down, some of them are on the haunches, some of them are just standing and just looking despondent as they wait to do what would be a lap of appreciation rather than a lap of honour, because this was a case of all or nothing for Arsenal. They at least did their bit, but 1989 remains the last time when the leaders were overtaken on the final day in the English top flight. It was a day of fluctuating emotions, from a feverish atmosphere to a flat one when news filtered through of those two first Manchester City goals. After Calvert-Lewin hit a post, Gay's deflected free kick gave the visitors the lead. Everton singing the blues, Arsenal feeling the blues. However, Tomiyasu levelled before half-time and the Emirates was re-energised. But Everton were resilient. Havertz hit a post, Smith Rowe hit the crossbar before Havertz sealed the winner in the 89th minute. But after collecting 49 points from a possible 54 in 2024, it still wasn't enough.
Mark Warburton is alongside Ian. Tough this for Arsenal, isn't it?
Really is. I mean, they've worked so hard, tirelessly all season, produced some great football, high quality goals from all over the pitch. So many positives for Mikel and his team and the supporters here to watch. But unfortunately, events outside their control, and so they just fell short. But a tremendous season and definite progress made.
And that's what Mikel Arteta will have to remind his players. I mean, I've got all 10 games on monitors in this studio. And probably the Arsenal group look more down than any other squad that I'm looking at really at the moment.
They really do. The sense of disappointment and frustration is more than palpable. You can watch them look at their face and look at Declan here, how disappointed they are. But they've had a tremendous season. As I say, they've fallen just short of the final hurdle, but the fact is they've moved forward, they've strengthened the squad, more depth, and they must look forward to next season with so much excitement and anticipation.
OK, thank you, Mark, for the time being. Thank you, Ian, for the time being. They were all but down going into today's final game. Were Luton? There was a massive goal swing possibility that wasn't happened. They were beaten 4-2 at home by Fulham, and Nottingham Forest actually won today at Burnley. What's the mood like there at Kenilworth Road? Chris Coles.
Well, quite a scene actually, Mark, because it's akin to a celebration. No one has left Kenilworth Road. We're all waiting for the squads to start their lap of appreciation, and I imagine they are going to get a rapturous reception. Not many, if any, relegated sides will get this sort of reception at the end of the season. Everyone on their feet. Really appreciation for the effort Luton have given this season, and their time in the Premier League came to a typically entertaining end. They came out, or go out as they came in. Great enthusiasm and desire. Ultimately today also a snapshot of their season without injured key players and very loose at the back. Fulham took advantage of that. Jimenez with 2 goals, an excellent Traore volley. Fulham dominated possession. They took their chances. Luton got it back to 1-1 and 2-3, but never really threatened to pull off the victory. But it's been a memorable, albeit brief, stay in the Premier League for Luton, and when this lap of appreciation starts, they are going to get cheered off the pitch. Luton 2, Fulham 4, Luton relegated.
Thank you, Chris. There are goodbyes going on all over the place at the moment. Got Thiago Silva on the mic at Stamford Bridge, Roberto De Zerbi and his best bits being played on this big screen at the Amex. The mother of all goodbyes today, though, is coming at Anfield. Maz.
The mood a little bit better, though, now, Mark, the playlist. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing is going to be all right. Just booming out through the speakers. The mood is celebration. We wait for Jurgen Klopp to come out of the tunnel here at Anfield and address the fans here at this stadium for a final time as the Liverpool manager. Liverpool greats from down the years amongst those in the stands, and there's still all packed, all four stands here, apart from that little Wolves section down towards my left-hand side. At full time, Jurgen Klopp embracing all his players, all his support staff, even all the Wolves support staff as well. A massive hug for Gary O'Neill. He had that massive grin on his face, but he hid his face under that black cap at points after full time and in the final few seconds of this match as well, as the emotion really came to the surface. And a sign in the stands over to my right hand side, I think, sums up this special relationship between their departing manager and the fans here. Danke Jurgen, you made the Kop happy. You'll never walk alone.
I'm sure we'll be back at Anfield to hear Jurgen Klopp at some point between now and 7 o'clock at Selhurst Park. They aren't going to be wanting to say goodbye to anybody the way this season has ended. Hamish Marshall.
It certainly hasn't. The Palace fans are still here waiting for the lap of appreciation. They've beaten Aston Villa by 5-0. Just a strange experience for the Villa fans, I reckon. They'd have been desperate for their best season for more than 30 years to come to an end. Opposite for Palace, 19 points from the last 21. They'll really wish it wasn't over. The fear for the fans of this could be the last time their crown jewels will play together. Eberici Eze got 2 goals. Michael Olise set up 1 and almost scored a couple of times, and Jean-Philippe Mateta grabbed a hat-trick. 9 goals in 6 games for him. Other clubs will surely circle for them, but they and new manager Oliver Glasner have helped Palace equal their best ever Premier League finish of 10th. For Aston Villa, they've done their bit this season, but they were outclassed today.
Thiago Silva's goodbye speech has probably gone on for about 5 minutes at Stamford Bridge. It's only just finished, and he is in tears at the end there. And his family are as well. His sons are in the academy at Stamford Bridge. His wife is in tears as well. That looked really emotional, John Southall.
It is really, really emotional for all the fans here. Everybody has stayed, as you would expect, here at Stamford Bridge. And all the players are kind of circling around the centre circle. And he's going to each of them now. He's just giving Reece James a hug there as well. I mean, they absolutely love him here at Stamford Bridge. Of course, he won the Champions League here. He went in at the full-time whistle. All the players stayed out on the pitch, formed a guard of honour, him and the staff and the management team, and out he came to a rapturous applause. And as you say, he's just said a few words on the pitch, thanking absolutely everybody. And you can probably hear just around the stadium the chants of Thiago Silva.
The goodbyes keep coming. Henry Moran, what's the mood like at the Amex?
Well, it's a mood of sadness and reflection, I think, as Roberto De Zerbi waves goodbye to the Brighton crowd. He's just walking in front of me, pointing out some friends and family high up in the tiers behind me. But I think it's been a performance which has rather summed up Brighton's season, dominating large periods of the game, failing to take chances, and ultimately Manchester United's 2 goals in the second half from Darlow and Højlund enough to at least finish their season on a bright note. De Zerbi departing. They put together that goodbye video very quickly, bearing in mind we only learned of the news yesterday. Very special relationship he's got with these supporters, clearly, and having taken Brighton to their highest league finish and European football last season, he'll have many special memories of his time here at the Amex Stadium. Finished in his final game, Brighton 0, Manchester United 2.
Just watching all these screens, Tom Lockyer, who we speak to a regular amount on 5 Live, is on the pitch at Kenilworth Road with his baby. And getting his baby's arm to wave to the crowd. There are some lovely shots there. That's lovely to see Tom and his baby doing that. Jurgen Klopp has a hoodie on at Anfield, and on the back of it, it says, "I'll never walk alone again." And I think his coaching staff have got T-shirts on that say the same thing as well. We'll keep going round all of these goodbyes. We'll bring you reaction as well. And we're still waiting for the trophy presentation at the Etihad, where they have cleared the pitch. So now they've just got to set up the stage and get everything ready for that. We will go next to Sheffield United. Charlie Slater. Do you know what? I can't even see that screen at the moment, so I don't know what's going on there.
You don't need to.
Okay, right.
The lap of
was it quick?
Yeah, the lap of appreciation was subdued. Fair play to the Sheffield United fans that did stay behind and applaud the team off, but this has been a season to forget for them, hasn't it? They were beaten today by Tottenham by 3-0. Spurs finished 5th and will play Europa League football next season. 2 goals from Dejan Kulusevski, sandwiching a belter from Pedro Porro. It's been a tough tough week for Ange Postecoglou. Reason for cheer, though, at the end of it, as they leave for Australia tonight for that post-season friendly against Newcastle. Meanwhile, a fitting end to a horrible season for Sheffield United, relegated with the third worst record in Premier League history. They'll prepare for the Championship. Tottenham will plan for Europe. It finished Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 3.
Let's go to Turf Moor next, where Burnley were beaten this afternoon by Nottingham Forest by 2-1. Sani Rajavajula.
Yeah, Burnley's players and the family been on the pitch, kids doing cartwheels, the adults kind of reflecting on a gruelling season, really. It's Chris Wood's double against his old club inside the first 15 minutes that did it. Forest were comfortable throughout as they stay up for another season in the Premier League. Josh Cullen's deflected effort in the second half gave Burnley something to cheer, but of course they're heading back to the Championship, where they'll hope for happier days to come. It's clearing fast here at Turf Moor. It's finished Burnley 1, Nottingham Forest 2.
OK, you can have your say with Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage on 606 later. 08085 909 693. They're starting to build the stage at the Etihad. John?
Yes, out of our sight, down in the dressing room. I'm watching pictures, I don't know if you've got these, Mark, of dancing Manchester City players out of sight. So they've already started their celebrations for 4 in a row.
They're also sponsored by a beer company, so that comes in very handy, I would imagine, on afternoons like this.
Well, it is. It has been quite warm here this afternoon, I must say.
Has Leon taken his coat off?
He has actually taken his coat off, so it must be warm. And out on the out in the scene in front of us, they've managed to get everyone back into their seats in the stands. Actually, quite a number of the West Ham supporters have stayed to witness this as well. But the usual Premier League livery is being laid out now. They're building the stage, and there are all sorts of bits of paraphernalia. Presumably there are flamethrowers. There's those big black boxes being brought on. Huge inflatable Manchester City balloons as well, with the crest on them. And also, I can tell you that we've already mentioned it. Paul Dickoff is going to be part of the presentation party today. Paul Dickoff, who 25 years ago scored that famous goal at Wembley as Manchester City were able to win the Division 2 playoff final.
But not the CEO of the Premier League.
No, Richard Masters decided that the best place for him to be would be at Arsenal. So the Premier League are going to be represented by Alison Britton, the chair of the Premier League, who will be here. But Richard Masters, who was here last season, is not here this season.
Back to Anfield, Maz.
Yeah, it's not just Jurgen Klopp Liverpool are saying farewell to today, of course. Klopp really keen to point out in his matchday programme the contributions made by Thiago Alcantara, who leaves after 4 seasons. We just had a presentation for him. Also for Joel Matip, who was one of the first signings Klopp made actually when he took over here at Anfield, a free one at that. He's been a really popular player and he got really good reception from the stands here at Anfield. And now the support staff of Jurgen Klopp are getting their moment as well of thanks with the crowd here as well, because obviously all of this technical team behind Jurgen Klopp here is being disbanded as well, as we know. So we're still waiting though to hear some words from Jurgen Klopp. He'll be out shortly, I'm sure.
And they're bringing them out one by one, are they? The coaching staff and technical staff. It's all yours, Maz.
Yeah, it could take quite some time, so I might hand back to you.
and they've. Do you know what? Actually, I'm just watching as they start to come out. It looks like they may have presentations for each and every one of them, which, whilst this is going to take some time to get through, is a very nice touch.
It is, and it's very Jurgen Klopp, isn't it, to make sure that everyone has their moment on the spotlight. Just a word on those hoodies that you mentioned as well. On the front, actually, they all say "Thank you, love" as well, which is clearly a phrase he's picked up in his 9 years in the city. It's how he signed off an open letter to the fans as well earlier this week. So I'll never walk alone again on the back, and "Thank you, love" on the front with a love heart, which is a nice touch as well.
It is. I mean, it's been very well stage managed, but it has that feeling of when you're at the theatre or at a pantomime and you're waiting for you're waiting for Cinderella and Prince Charming to come out at the end, aren't you? Really, and we're nowhere near that with Jurgen Klopp. So we'll go back there shortly. Let's go back to speaking of Prince Charming, Ian Dennis at the Emirates.
Well, you're going to say I was one of your ugly sisters.
I did think about that, and I thought, no, final day of the season, let's all be nice to each other.
Well, the Arsenal players...
With their twankies at the Etihad.
The Arsenal players have just completed their lap of appreciation. Mikel Arteta down below is now having a word with his wife. He's chatting to his 3 sons as well. A lot of the family and friends are now on the pitch just chatting to these Arsenal players. He did address the crowd incidentally as well, Mikel Arteta. He said it's time to have a break, to have a little think and a chance to reflect. And then his message to the supporters was keep pushing, keep inspiring this team. And then he placed great credit on the players, because whilst there is the disappointment that they have finished runners-up, you know, this is a team that has had the most wins in the top flight since 1971. They've scored the most goals in a campaign since the early 50s. So there are a number of positives, I think, for when that time is to reflect for Mikel Arteta after pushing Manchester City all the way.
Mark Warburton's still alongside Ian. I feel, on the one hand, Mark, I feel a bit sad for them because they've had such a brilliant season and they've played some amazing football that... And I sense from the fans, and all day with the fans, they want to thank their players for that and celebrate the season they've had. But I suppose, on the other hand, to see how disappointed they are and how muted this is a little bit from the playing staff's point of view is a really good sign.
Absolutely, I was going to say that, Mark. The players know how good they've been this season. There's no doubt they trust in their quality, they trust in their management, and they know they've had a good season for sure. But they've sensed they could get to the final hurdle and get this job done. So for Man City to do that away from them and then to lose the title, I understand their frustration. The fans will be pleased with so many aspects. How they've come on this season, the depth of the squad, reaction to injury, the goals for me from so many different players, be it Saka, Havertz, Trossard, you've got Odegaard, etc. Everyone contributing. So many positives. But this must surely ignite them for next season. They know what they've got to do to close that very, very fine margin to Man City. One or two key acquisitions over the summer could make a huge difference to give them that final push to achieve the glory that a club of this stature undoubtedly deserves.
Mark, Ian, for the moment, thank you. Some lovely scenes at Luton. Tom Lockyer and his whole family having photographs in front of the Luton fans. As they say goodbye, all of them, to the Premier League at Kenilworth Road this afternoon. Some lovely shots from inside the tunnel at Anfield, where Jurgen Klopp and his backroom staff are waiting one by one to be introduced to the Anfield crowd as they come out to take their gratitude. And at Brighton at the moment, as Roberto De Zerbi talks to the fans, Henry Moran, those fans are chanting back that they want him to stay.
Yeah, we want you to stay as the chant, and he had to stop what he was saying and that speech to wave goodbye to these Brighton supporters. Visibly emotional, Roberto De Zerbi. We only learned of this news yesterday that he'd be leaving the club. An interesting message that we got as well. It was, we've agreed to end my time at Brighton so the club and I can continue to work in the way that suits each of us best. And that feels a little bit cryptic to Brighton supporters. They clearly have a very special bond with him, and that chant goes up around the ground once again to acclaim who is a man that has led Brighton to territory they'd never been to before.
Big banner at the stadium as well that says "Grazie Mister" as he continues to talk there. Now, as we look for clues and goodbyes, I wonder what's going on at Brentford and Ivan Toney. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Yes, well, I'm still waiting, Mark. I'm I'm in the tunnel here at Brentford, but the players and Thomas Frank and co are out there on the pitch in the sunshine, just doing their lap of honour at the moment. That off the back of a 4-2 defeat against Newcastle today. They woke up in the second half, actually, Brentford, 3-0 down at half-time, and the second and third goals they conceded in the first half, very much of their own doing. Newcastle were ruthless and punished them. Ivan Toney thought he'd scored, and we'd been speculating, of course, that potentially today could be his last game for the club. That was ruled out for offside early on, but Brentford got it back to 3-2 in the second half, and Newcastle just gave themselves that little bit of breathing space late in the game. Bruno Guimaraes scoring the fourth to make it 4-2, and then donning a bucket hat in the joyous celebration. So what that means for Newcastle, I've just been speaking to their manager Eddie Howe, is a 7th placed finish, and that should mean European football. It will mean European football in the Europa Conference League next season if Manchester City win the FA Cup next Saturday. So Newcastle fans for a day will become Manchester City fans. And interestingly, Mark, just in the chat I had to Eddie Howe there, I was just asking him about the season as a whole. Last season obviously finished 4th and qualified for the Champions League. They've had that adventure this season. He actually said he feels that the club has made progression this season, even though you look at the league table and it wouldn't strictly tell you that. It's a bit more nuanced than that. So interesting to listen to Eddie Howe after the game.
OK, Ali, for the moment, thank you very much. I can see what's going to happen a mile off here, because at Anfield, they're still bringing out the backroom staff one by one. At the Etihad, they're still building the stage. I guarantee the trophy will be lifted at City at the same time Klopp comes out at Anfield. Let me just remind you of the results in the Premier League today. If you're just getting back in your car, having been saying goodbye to someone at a ground or celebrating your side's final match of the season, well, Arsenal 2, Everton 1, Brentford 2, Newcastle 4, Brighton 0, Manchester United 2, Burnley 1, Nottingham Forest 2, Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1, Crystal Palace 5, Aston Villa 0, Liverpool 2, Wolves 0, Luton 2, Fulham 4, Manchester City 3, West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 3. Manchester City are the champions. Arsenal and Liverpool and Villa are in the Champions League. Tottenham and Chelsea definitely qualifying for European competition. Newcastle will as well if Manchester City win the FA Cup next week. In the League 2 playoff final, Crawley beat Crewe 2-0. Final day of the Scottish Premiership season in the bottom half today. Livingston 1, Hibs 1, Motherwell 1, St Johnstone 2, Ross County 2, Aberdeen 2. It means St Johnstone get out of that relegation playoff on the final day of the season because they won at Motherwell. Ross County's point against Aberdeen means they drop into that and they will play Wraith for a place in the Scottish Premiership next season. England's women beat Pakistan in the third and final T20 international. They take the series 3-0. Warrington beat Huddersfield 46-10 in the Men's Challenge Cup semi-final. They will play Wigan in the final. Meanwhile, in the women's, Leeds beat Wigan, so they will take on St Helens in the final. Tonight on 5 Live from 9 o'clock, the final round of the USPGA. It gets underway on Sports Extra at 8 o'clock. Gone through the day's sport. Any sign of a trophy, John Murray?
Yeah, we're just about to see the first of the Manchester City staff being led back out onto the pitch, but this could be quite a long drawn-out process.
Okay.
Because they've all got to find a position. Then there will be all of the coaches will line up, so it's not imminent. And I have a feeling I'm thinking along similar lines to you.
What? That this is going to absolutely clash the two things.
It's going to crash badly.
Right. Well, very like my DJing days. Let's go back to to Anfield. Pep Linders has come out, Maz. So it's Jurgen Klopp next.
Yeah, he's behind you. The main event about to come out. Jurgen Klopp just embracing a member of the team here as well at Liverpool, just in the tunnel. We're waiting for him to come up. Pep Linders up on the platform, just been set up here in the middle of this Anfield pitch, and he did a little bit of that fist pumping routine with the packed stands, with the fans still here in the stands. But what they're waiting for as they wave their flags and scarves above their heads in the stands is Jurgen Klopp, who will come out very shortly and say some words as the Liverpool manager for the final time, and maybe we'll get that fist pumping routine of celebration from him as well. I'm sure we will with the fans for the final time.
Pep Linders, of course, is going to take over at RB Salzburg. Ought to say that on that stage, along with John W. Henry, is Sir Kenny Dalglish as well. And now Pep Linders has had his photo, and Jurgen Klopp is in an embrace in the tunnel, and here we go.
And here is Jurgen Klopp about to come out for the final time onto this Anfield turf as the Liverpool manager. And we're just going to get a sense here of the reception. The Liverpool players forming a sort of a guard of honour. Harvey Elliott amongst them applauding there. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Virgil van Dijk at the head of it as Jurgen Klopp comes out now with that black cap on, big smile on his face, puts his hands over his chest, over his heart, takes that cap off and receives applause from all the stands here at Anfield as he walks through his players now up onto that presentation platform in the middle of the Anfield pitch. Big hug from his captain Virgil van Dijk, and then he runs back down the tunnel to go through the guard of honour again. He loved it so much, he goes back a second time, and he's making his way up into the centre of the Anfield pitch here. High five for Mo Salah. Just a hug there as well, embrace for Trent Alexander-Arnold, who looked very emotional at full time as well as he gave his manager an embrace at the final time. And he makes his way up to Kenny Dalglish and John Henry and everybody else in the centre circle here. And we are going to hear from Jurgen Klopp for the final time as the fans, you can hear it behind me, thank Jurgen Klopp after 9 years in charge here at Anfield.
He has a huge embrace with Kenny Dalglish as well, and the pictures go to show all the different banners that are both in the Kop and around Anfield as well. Anfield still packed. so they could say goodbye to their manager after his spell in charge of the club. He will take the microphone. Now, whether we're going to be able to hear that or not, we're not 100% sure at the moment. Meanwhile, we're going to persevere with it in the hope that we can. If you're waiting for the trophy lift at City, nothing is happening at the moment there. The stage is built. The media are on the pitch ready to do the interviews. And what they've done now, Maz, at Anfield, is they've got a plinth of all the trophies that Klopp has won in his time at Anfield.
Yeah, they've got a sort of little mini versions of all the different trophies that he's won. So obviously amongst them, Premier League title, European Champions League titles as well. So trophies, then his sort of own version that he can take with him. And then they've also got a framed sort of another thing there as well. It's quite difficult. Pennants from the cup finals. It's quite difficult to see from up here. My monitor's just gone off, so that's helpful.
I think here you go, Jürgen. It's a framed thing of your time, as it was.
It's a framed thing. It's a good job that I'm not in charge of this emotional moment between Jürgen Klopp and the Liverpool team here now. But yeah, he's obviously quite moved by what's happening here, and hopefully now we are about to hear from him.
The most obvious question is, how are you feeling right now? I'm completely surprised. I thought I'm already in pieces, to be honest, but I'm not. I'm so happy. I can't believe it. I'm so happy about you all, about the atmosphere, about the game, about being part of this family, about us, how we celebrated this day. It's just incredible. Thank you so much.
You've seen so many of the flags that they have made for you. The singing was almost permanent throughout the whole game today. So many famous games here over the days and the nights. If there was one that you could go back to, which one would it be? Which game here?
One of the City games we drew. Well, that would have helped, huh? No, the atmosphere is absolutely great. Thanks for ignoring my request to not sing my song completely since weeks. Yeah. So.
Jürgen Klopp has just gestured at the Liverpool fans to stop singing that name. The Manchester City players, by the way, are in the tunnel waiting to come out for the trophy presentation. At the Emirates, they're doing a brilliant photo of the Arsenal players, families, backroom staff in front of the fans at Arsenal. They've got everybody connected to the club over the course of this season, and they're doing a big photo there. We will have reaction to come from the Premier League games. You can see it all on Match of the Day tonight, 10:30 on BBC One.
Oh, thank you. If you sing it next year, that would be funny. So no, honestly, I for whatever reason, I don't fall. Oh, Peter, thank you very much. Thank you. So I don't fall. Not yet. Tonight, possibly. So it doesn't feel like an end. It just feels like the start. Because I saw today a football team playing full of talent, full of youth, full of creativity, full of desire, full of greed, That's one part of development. That's what you need, obviously. But obviously, since a few weeks, I get absolute too much attention. It feels really uncomfortable, but in this time I realized a lot of things. People told me that I turned them from doubter into believer. That's not true. It is not. Wait. Believing is an active act. You have to do it yourself. I just said we have to. You did it. So that's a big difference. And who tells you? Nobody tells you now to stop believing. So because this club is in a better moment than, not ever, well, maybe ever. I'll have to ask Kenny, probably ever. Yeah. So since a long time, let me say like that. So we have this wonderful stadium, we have this wonderful training center, we have you, the superpower of world football. Wow.
And as he pays tribute to the Liverpool fans, Paul Dickoff at the Etihad has brought the Premier League trophy out onto the plinth. Paul Dickoff, who scored that goal against Gillingham in the playoff final so many years ago. And look where City are now. 4th title in a row. Back there in a moment for them to lift the trophy as Jurgen Klopp continues to talk to the Liverpool fans at Anfield. The backroom staff at City have made their way onto the pitch. The players and Pep Guardiola are still in the tunnel.
If we are worried or excited, we decide if we believe or we don't believe. We decide if we trust or if we don't trust. And since today I'm one of you, and I keep believing in you. I stay a believer 100%. And obviously, I saw a lot of people crying, and it will happen to me tonight as well, because I will miss people. That's clear. But as well, change is good. And just you never know exactly what to expect. But if you go with the right attitude into that, then everything will be fine, because the basics are 100% there, and that's there, the team, and that's the new coach. So, manager. And you give actually a shit what I want you to sing. I know, but I have an idea. I heard the song today a few times, and I you can do that. I have no problem with that. Let's see how the response will be.
He has done everything in that speech, and if there's more to come, we will record it for you and we will play it later on, and I'm sure you will see it everywhere. But he has done that whole speech with a massive, massive smile on his face. He has looked like he is thoroughly enjoying himself, and that message to the Liverpool fans was change is good. Meanwhile, at the Etihad, Pep Guardiola looks deep in thought as he walks out onto the pitch, as he and his City players get ready to lift their 4th consecutive Premier League trophy. John Murray.
Well, I'm delighted to say, Mark, that he's finally got rid of that thick, chunky, black, woolly knitwear that he's been wearing over the course of the last few weeks, and so he should today. If it was superstition, then it's done the trick. And he walks out now and he waves all around the Etihad and he punches the air. What he's wearing now is just like the rest of the backroom staff, who are all lined up next to the big purple carpet. They walk through an arch as they come out of the tunnel, and he is leading his players out now, and Pep Guardiola is wearing a sky blue Manchester City shirt, which has on the back of it a golden 24, and above that written champions. And now the players are being introduced as well, and they come into our sight. Leon Osman sitting next to me here. We're just to the left of the halfway line, and we're watching the Manchester City players come out. There's Erling Haaland as well. Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, who's been a superb backup. He didn't get onto the field today, but they walk out now. The 2 City mascots are there, and they walk through the arch, which has Champions 2023-24 written on it, and the Premier League crest. And Kevin De Bruyne now appears. He missed half the season, Kevin De Bruyne. Nevertheless, Leon, what an impact he made once he got back to full fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's such a quality player. He turned up exactly when they needed him to. And that game away at Newcastle springs to mind when he came on the pitch for, it was like a cameo, half an hour's performance, and scored one, set another one up, and reinvigorated, re-energised this Manchester City attack on the Premier League. And every one of these players, regardless of if they played a minute or they played every minute that they could in the Premier League, have contributed to this 4th title in a row, and they'll be delighted, they'll be extremely proud, and I can't speak highly enough of what they've done.
So they're just beginning to hand out the medals. Pep Guardiola's already received his mark. He's standing on the stage. I can see it glinting in gold, hanging on the ribbon round his neck, and he's waving to, I presume, his friends and family in the tier above us inside the stadium. So it won't be too long before Kyle Walker, who was last out of the tunnel, will be called forward to pick up the trophy.
It won't, and just to keep you across everything that is happening at Arsenal, all the players and the friends and the family are still on the pitch there. They're not moving there. And the only other place where I can still see everything going on at the pitch is at Anfield, where Jurgen Klopp's speech didn't last very much longer after we left it. And then him and his coaching staff all held hands and ran towards the Kop, and they all did that Jurgen Klopp fist pump together in front of the Kop. And now Klopp on his own is making his way around all the other stands, hopping and skipping and doing that same fist bump thing to every corner of the ground before he says goodbye. Where are we up to with your players, John Murray?
Well, Phil Foden has just been called forward, and what a season he has had. He's already picked up 2 of the big awards, the Premier League Player of the Season this week and the Football Writers Footballer of the Year trophy. He was handed that this week, and he scored 2 goals today, 27 this season, 19 in the Premier League. And talk about superstitions, he's worn that white bandage, Leon, all the way through this season. But Kyle Walker told us, I think halfway through the season, they call him the sniper because of his celebration, and he has been the sharpshooter, hasn't he, this season?
Yeah, he has, and he stuck with that bandage as much as Pep Guardiola stuck with that lucky jumper, even in the height of the May sunshine. But yeah, I mean, outstanding contribution. I mean, he's won the award for the best player this year, and rightly so. Phil Foden, he's been absolutely incredible, and I think we've seen not the emergence of Phil Foden, but the announcement that I am now here, I am now the best player in the Premier League. And how long can he play at this level? I mean, he's still only young, he's still got plenty of his career left ahead of him. So the signs are brilliant for Manchester City.
That medal that he's picked up today, that Premier League winners medal, that's his 6th. So he's won it 6 times now. Kyle Walker 6, John Stones 6, De Bruyne 6, Bernardo Silva 6, Ederson 6. That's the amount of trophy winning experience there is. But the point is about Phil Foden at 23 years old, nearly 24, he is the youngest to win it 6 times, 6 Premier League winning medals.
Well, that in itself is quite incredible. I mean, you think of some of the Manchester United players that obviously started and came through the youth and went on to win multiple Premier League titles. Well, Phil Foden has done it, as you said, earlier than all of them. And there's an argument to say what kind of course and what kind of trajectory Phil Foden is on compared to some of those players that played for Manchester United, because you could make an argument he could potentially go a lot further.
Yeah. Well, there is that, and it needs to be mentioned today while we witness these great scenes, in terms of what the future holds. Pep Guardiola's contract runs to the end of next season, and all of the time, of course, there are these 115 charges that are being investigated by an independent commission. Richard Masters of the Premier League, who's not here today, has said that there will be developments in the near future, but not just yet. And it is Phil Foden now stepping up. And listen to this cheer for Phil Foden. What a popular figure he is here. Of course he would be, but a key part of that is that he is a Manchester City supporter. I have to say, one of my favourite banners all around Europe this season was on the night of the second leg against Real Madrid here, when we had the Foden Express banner in the stands, the bus from Stockport,
the 192
that didn't quite make it, did it, to the Champions League final. But I think that shows what a place, and indeed the Manchester public transport system has in the hearts of everyone in this part of the northwest of England. But Erling Haaland is going to be called forward next, and listen, it might not be the 52 goals of last season, but 38 isn't bad, and and he will receive a second consecutive Golden Boot award.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd have done it the other way around, everybody would just be cheering it on. But when you burst onto the scene and get into the 50s the first time, people expect, and that's what expectation is. But, you know, he's won for the second year running the Golden Boot. People thought it was a competition a couple of weeks back, and he showed them with, you know, was it 5 goals in a game, 4 goals in a game against Wolves, that no one was competing with him.
And one by one, the Manchester City players are just beginning to assemble now in those special sky blue shirts with the medals around their necks on the Premier League stage. It won't be too long before Kyle Walker is going to be called forward. Kevin De Bruyne is there. Here's Bernardo Silva. Such a favourite he's been here, as we've mentioned today. We do wonder, you know, whether he'll be here next season. But he quickly gets his medal from Paul Dickoff and then takes his place on the stage. A few more numbers. We talk about this being 4 in a row for Manchester City, but in total this is the 10th time that Manchester City have been league champions. So they've got one more than Everton now. Leon, your former club, and they're 4th on the list. Manchester United with 20, Liverpool 19, Arsenal 13, and then Manchester City with 10. But it is now this period of domination for Manchester City. It's 8 times in 13 seasons, 6 in the last 7. So those 6 titles in the last 7 years, all 6 under Pep Guardiola. This is his 8th season, and he, I'm sure, is watching with great pride as all of his players who have performed for him this season. It might yet be a league and FA Cup double. They've already won the UEFA Super Cup and the FIFA Club World Cup, those trappings of winning the Champions League last season, and now here is the big favourite. Kevin De Bruyne's name echoes around the stands of the Etihad Stadium as Alison Britton from the Premier League gives him his medal. As a little word there from Paul Dickoff as well as he walks past him. It's a great choice as well. Michael Crowther is the other man who is handing out the medals. Michael Crowther, Manchester City fan, who's been a part of the special Reminisce City sessions that the club put on. But it is now the captain, Kyle Walker, who steps forward. Kyle Walker, his 300th appearance for Manchester City today. It was Ilkay Gundogan last season. Kyle Walker, what a moment of pride this is for him. 33 years old. Paul Dickoff says, go and get it. Go and get it. And he'll walk across. Manchester City, having won it in 2021, 2022, 2023, now win it in 2024. And Kyle Walker lifts it high. 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row for Manchester City. Never been seen before. The sky blue confetti goes up. The flamethrowers send their burning flames high into the air. The smoke bombs go up as well. And once again, the Premier League, it's Manchester City celebrating again. No one can live with them. Arsenal pushed them hard, but Manchester City won on the final day to win the title. And now all of the staff in those special sky blue shirts cram onto the stage with the players, and Pep Guardiola's in there as well. They're all dancing together and celebrating together. It's a sign of our times. Manchester City celebrating trophies and celebrating winners' medals. And the rest of the stadium as well break into song as well, Mark. And all around on the electronic hoardings, it flashes up in sky blue, champions, and then in gold, 4 in a row.
And Kyle Walker continues to hold that Premier League trophy, and he's going to lift it high again to the cheers of the backroom staff as well. And after he passed it to Kevin De Bruyne for De Bruyne to hold, the camera focused in on Pep Guardiola, who was at the back, and he held up 4 fingers and both thumbs to indicate 6 in 7 years. 10 minutes or so left of 5 Live Sport, then it's 6:06 with Robbie and Chris. Chris?